watching us from. We say a very big welcome to you on behalf of A Beautiful Life by Kenny. Really excited for today. My name is Ayo Myrese, and I'm delighted to be your host for this evening. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Now, today we are very excited because we know a number of people who have come here have come in very expectant. You don't have such an excellent panel of speakers and not be excited about what's to come. And I just want to encourage everyone to prepare your hearts, to get ready to learn, to unlearn, actually, first of all, and then learn and open our hearts to learn from the experiences of our speakers today. I love a saying that says, a foolish man learns from his own experiences, while a wise man learns from the experiences of others. And so I want to congratulate everyone who's signed up for today's meeting, because you are very wise. You have come to learn from the experiences of our speakers today, and the topic is aptly called What We Wish We Knew. And we hope that as they speak along these lines, that wouldn't be our own story, because we will learn from the experiences of these exceptional speakers. I'll be doing a proper introduction to them very shortly, but to give us proper context to today's meeting and also to give us an introduction to today, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce the convener, the host of today's meeting, a woman I deeply respect and who has experiences and lessons herself that many of us can learn from. Please me to bits of her bio, particularly for those who want to know her for the first time today. The beauty of the new normal is that we can reach out to people from the four corners of the earth, no barrier in distance at this time. So please allow me to introduce the convener of today's meeting. She's a social entrepreneur who has a passion for national transformation and believes that education can be used as a viable tool for societal development. She has successfully grown her business, Meadow Hall, which started as a summer school in 2002, to an education group with 5 subsidiaries: the Meadow Hall Education, Meadow Hall Consult, Spring Meadow Edutainment, Meadow Hall Franchise, and Meadow Hall Resources. She also runs a foundation. She's passionate about teacher professional development. She's married to Mr. Andy Iwani, and they are blessed with 3 children. She started A Beautiful Life in order to inspire and mentor younger people, and perhaps even people older, through her wealth of experience, and periodically leaders to share their experiences as well. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Kenny Iwani, founder and of A Beautiful Life by Kenny.
Thank you very much, my sister, Mrs. Ayo Myrese. Can you hear me? Everybody, can you hear me?
Yes. Loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ayo. Thank you for always being there for us. Every time we call upon you, you're always there for us. Thank you for your support. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you're watching from. You see, that's the beauty of a virtual program like this. We're able to reach everybody anywhere in the world. So I want to welcome you all very warmly to this program today, this ABL program. It's an honor and a privilege to have all of you join us today. Now, I'm just going to say a few words. ABL, A Beautiful Life, as Ayo has said, is a mentorship initiative. This is a God-given mentorship initiative that we set up in 2016. And at that time, we set this mentorship initiative up to mentor young women in 5 areas, their relationship with their God, to prepare them for marriage, to raise godly children in their careers so they can have successful careers, and to be nation builders. That was how ABL started. But to the glory of God, we have evolved. Since that time to today, the Lord has done things in such a beautiful way that we're actually mentoring a lot more people. We're mentoring women of all ages and men as well. You know, that just gladdens my heart. Because what's the use of mentoring a woman if you cannot reach the men? What's the use of helping a woman develop spiritually when the men are not well developed spiritually? What's the use of developing a woman and helping her and mentoring them in the area of marriage when we leave the men out? Raising children, they need to speak as one. In their careers, we want both parties to be successful. So, you know, things have evolved in ABL to incorporate both men and women, young and old. And that just gladdens my heart. So I just want to welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this program. So before I go on, I'd like to just appreciate our facilitators for today. I want to appreciate my own personal people, the Durotoyes. It's just an honor and a privilege to have both of you, Fela and Tara, here today. I appreciate you honoring our invitation. And I want to appreciate our own dear Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo. He's our neighbor, you know, in Meadowhall. He runs the David Christian Center, and it's just right next to us in Meadowhall. And I just want to appreciate you again, Pastor. I follow you on Facebook, and I know that we speak the same language. We preach the same things. So it's an honor to have you as well here for this program. So to the topic of today, what we wish we knew. You know, the topic set me thinking. I thought to myself, what I wish I knew. And to the glory of God, in 2 days' time, I would have been married for 30 good years. And, you know, I cast my mind back and I thought, what did I wish I knew before getting married? And the only thing that came to mind would be being prepared for marriage. We'll all agree that marriage is just the only institution that we know that people are not really prepared beforehand for. I got married to a wonderful man, a good man, a kind man, you know, and I call him my prince in shining armor, and he still is, even after 30 years. But the truth is, love and getting the right person is not enough. It is only a foundation on which we can build a marriage. And that's the only thing I wish I knew. Because at that age, just thought, oh, you got the right man, you're in love, that's it. But it takes a lot more to get married and to remain married. And that is why it gladdens my heart so much. I feel so fulfilled being able to offer this to people, you know, people who are preparing to get married, and also those who are already married, who hope to remain married for 30, 40, 50 years and beyond. You know, it's just going to be an awesome time today with the facilitators we have lined up. I'm here. I have my friends I have a co-mentor. She's somewhere there, Pastor Shade Bangboye. Hi, Shade. She's there. We're just here to support each and every one of you. All I ask is, please listen. Listen very carefully. Learn. Ayo said you need to unlearn, learn, and relearn. Please learn. And another thing I'll encourage all of us to do is please ask questions. Ask questions. ABL, we're very practical. It's not a superfluous or superficial initiative at all. We want to help. This is for the furtherance of the kingdom of God. We want to help. Beautiful thing is it's even virtual. Feel free to ask your questions. And as much as the Lord gives us utterance, we will answer. The ones we can't answer, we will refer you back to the one who knows all truth, who can answer all questions, the Holy Spirit. But please feel free to answer, to ask your questions. I would ask you all to sit back. I want you to relax and take everything in. And my prayer is that no one under the sound of my voice today will leave the same way they joined this program. In the almighty name of Jesus Christ, we all would have added something to our knowledge, about marriage and to keep our marriages. In Jesus' mighty name, I welcome you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ayo.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you very much, Mrs. Kenuwani. I refer to her as Pastor Ken. I know her as Pastor Kenuwani. Thank you for birthing this vision, and thank you for following it through so passionately. May I say congratulations on behalf of everyone in 2 days' time, 30 years anniversary. On your anniversary, you expect gifts, but I do believe that what you've chosen to do is to give us a gift in this seminar as an 30-year anniversary gift. So thank you on behalf of every single person here, making it free of charge for us to access this brilliant information and knowledge and these panelists. May I just say a few things before I introduce our next speaker, and that is just a few Zoom rules or Zoom guidelines to help us enjoy this session better. If you can't hear me or for some reason I'm freezing, just send a little note so that I can note and repeat what I said. Other than that, may I please ask that if you're not speaking, and by that I mean everyone is not speaking except for the speakers at the time, kindly mute your microphones. This is really important so that we don't have background distractions, as it could hamper the smooth flow of today's program. Also, Mrs. Wani talked about a question and answer session where you have the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers. So you can ask the questions whilst they're speaking. What you need to do is simply put it in the comment section. Now, don't forget that if you want to remain anonymous, because we want to be as real as possible, break it down, no holds barred, you can send it privately to you would see A Beautiful Life handle, or to Aya Amakri. They're the two hosts and co-hosts. Or you can send to me and I'll find a way to pass it on to them. It's really important we remember this. You can send it privately and we will treat as anonymous. But please, you can bring your questions. Any error, there's no question that is not important enough. We're here to learn. And where we are learning, there's no question that is mundane. Every question is important. With that said, and out of the way, if you want to, feel free. If you're single in particular, can I recommend to you to please put on your video? Things are happening here. We're here to learn, and someone might just be here to connect, just like the way you're smiling whilst this program is going on. So kindly put on your video if you can, if you're in a place where that would permit you. In the event you cannot, then that's fine as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope we're ready right now to get into it. All right. The next speaker, our first speaker for today, of course, following Mrs. Wani's welcome and introduction, is a man that really, when it comes to love, relationships, and marriages, doesn't need any introduction. We know him as Pastor Kingsley of the Law, a relationship coach, and of the Love, Dating, and Married Ministry, widely known as LDM We Speak. It's a highly impactful relationship ministry committed to equipping couples around the world with godly principles for building strong relationships and marriages through TV broadcasts nationwide and regular relationship seminars across continents. Something else I should warn you about is his wicked sense of humor. And when I say wicked, I say it in the holiest terms possible. He has such an excellent way of passing his message, laced with such great humor that you can't help but feel, drawn to his message and wanting to listen and think, that just hit me right there. So sit back, relax, and very importantly, take notes as I invite to speak as our first speaker for today, Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo, who is married to his beautiful wife, Pastor Mildred Okonkwo, and blessed with children. Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo.
Okay, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. We've been trying to make this happen for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're able to make it happen today. And thank you for the invitation. Thank you for putting this together. I really wish more and more people could, take out time to invest in the younger generations, because, it will make a world of difference, especially in the years to come. Today I'm speaking about things I wish I knew, especially as regards relationships. Maybe I'll start by saying that I wish I knew how impactful marriage is. I wish I knew how impactful marriage is. I think apart from meeting Christ, who you marry is like one of the other most important decisions of your life. There's no way you can even fully comprehend how impactful that can be. You know, from when you are just single, you need to interact more with married people to understand how impactful that can be. Somebody said something that I quoted on my page. He said, marriage is like a revolving door, that the singles are trying to get married and the married are trying to come out of the marriage. The reason is because some people discover too late how impactful who they marry, you know, can be to their lives. Somebody even said, who you marry is one of the best financial decisions that you can ever make. All they're trying to say is that, you know, marriage impacts every part of your life. And I wish more and more people would know how impactful, you know, the person you marry will be to your eternal destiny. I wish more young people will consider, you know, eternity, will consider purposefulness of life when they are choosing a spouse. Many times young people choose a spouse thinking that it's about love, or it's just about love, it's just about romance, you know, that is just about two people loving each other and all that. But marriage is beyond that. Marriage is beyond two people. Marriage is really about destiny. It's about, you know, it's about purpose. It's about destiny. I like the way my wife always says it. She said, marriage is not a reward, marriage is an assignment. So it's two people, you know, coming together and looking at the journey that they have ahead of them. Looking at the journey that they have ahead of them and, you know, deciding that this is the kind of person that I want to go with. I tell young people that you need to find a purpose for life before you find a partner for life. You need to find a purpose for life before you find a partner for life. It's important you know where you are going before you can decide who can go with you. It's important you know where you're going before you can choose who can go with you. So it's better to find a purpose for life before you find a partner for life. All right? It is your purpose that will determine your partner. Once you can get your purpose, it actually streamlines the kind of partners you can pick. You see, and if you understand that your purpose is something that you're going to do also for the rest of your life, then you will generally be more careful about the kind of partner you pick for the rest of your life. What I see many people do is that they separate their lives from their partners. So they think that I'm going to have my life, then I'm going to have a husband. I'm going to have my life, and I'm going to have a wife. But that's not the design of marriage. The design of marriage is that two people become one. So I even laugh. I even see some couples that hide their money from each other, but they are married. So I'm saying, okay, you want to protect your money, but you're not protecting yourself. You think your money is worthy of safekeeping, but you can give your life to this person that you don't trust. So you trust him with your life, but you can't trust him with your money. You see, so all these things, you know, shows the mindset some people have. You know, they're seeing marriage as just an arrangement, as a contract, not understanding that, look, you are giving this person your whole life. You are putting your whole life in the hands of another human being. And you have to make sure it's just worth it. You have to make sure this is the kind of thing or this kind of person I want to share my journey with. And marriage can be such a beautiful thing if it's done right. I know that we live in a time when a lot of people see it, you know, as a necessary evil. A lot of people see it as a game of chance. But that's not how I see it at all. I just feel there is a knowledge gap, you know, between people that are single and people that are married. I wish more married people could have sessions when they can talk to single people. Sometimes I wish I can introduce them. When I see the single people that are in a hurry to get married, I wish I can get them to sit down with married people and ask questions and say, how is this journey? You know, for people to actually see that, okay, it's not what I'm thinking. It's not what I'm thinking. In one of the webinars I did last weekend, I explained that when you are single, you focus so much on your wants. But when you are married, you focus more on your needs. And they are two different things. When you are single, you are focused on your wants. When you're looking at marriage, you are looking at it from a standpoint of what I want. But But when you are married, the wants kind of fade away and the needs become very important. So I will give an idea. I'll give an idea. When you're single, for instance, you can say you want a rich man. I'm speaking now from a lady's perspective first, if I come to the men. So as a young girl, you can say, oh, I want to make sure I marry a rich man. And that's kind of a bit common. A lot of young girls think like that. I want to marry somebody comfortable. Oh, my father is comfortable. You know, I've seen my uncles comfortable. I want to marry somebody that's comfortable. So they're thinking, I want a rich man. That is a want. It's good, but it's just a want. When you get married, you would move from just wanting a rich man to wanting a loving man, a caring man. Because it's possible to have a rich man that doesn't care. You know, it's possible to have a rich man that doesn't care. So we see a lot of that going on around us. So they are well-to-do, the family is well-to-do, but you know, there's no love. In fact, the Bible itself says that it's better to live in a house where we're eating vegetables than in a house where we're having a feast. So it's possible to actually have that rich man that doesn't care. So what you actually want is a caring man. I mean, what you need rather is a caring man. What you need is a hardworking man. You see, if that man is caring, if that man is hardworking, with your input in his life, he will likely also still become rich. But you see, that man can be rich if that's all you want and not care. So you are able to, you know, separate your wants and your needs. You can say, I want a fine man. Now, I can't say young ladies a lot. Women are fantasizers. That's what I like to say. Women are dreamers. Especially when it comes to marriage, women have the innate ability to dream. Women just see the perfect picture. You know, they just see perfect. And even from when you're young, the movies women watch are built around fantasy. Cinderella and all that, you know, they built around fantasy, and that's fine. So, but they begin to dream and say, I want a fine man. You know, I want a man that when we take pictures together, you know, and pictures will come out nice. I want a man that will be tall, so that even when I wear my heels, you know, I will still have to look up to him. And when he kisses me, you know, all those things. That's a good one. But what you need is a faithful man. That's what you need. When you are not married, a fine man is what you're thinking, and your friends, everybody wants to see a fine man. Your friends will give you good rating by how fine the man is, how cultured the man is. But when you get married, suddenly you want a faithful man, and you need a faithful man, and that will now rank more. That will now rank more than just how fine that man is. Same thing applies to guys. You know, you might just want, a fine babe. But when you get married, you find out you need a woman that will support you. You need a woman that will bring peace to your life. So as young people, well, I've mentioned one thing first. I've mentioned the fact that you need to know how impactful marriage is. Secondly, you need to separate your needs and your wants. You need to separate your needs and your wants. Your wants are great. Your wants, you know, most people outside will see your wants, but people inside will not see whether your needs are being met. So separate your wants and your needs. Pay attention to the needs. The needs are the ones that you can't do without. Most times the wants are flexible, but the needs you can't do without the needs. I remember one lady came and said, oh, Pastor, I'm in a relationship with somebody, but he's not tall enough. I said, is he nice to you? She said, yes. Is he caring? She said, yes. Do you guys connect emotionally? She said, yes, but he's not tall enough. And I asked her, have you dated somebody that was tall enough? She said, yes. I said, where's the guy now? He said, he left. I said, you see, you are looking for a tall guy that won't stay. But you have a guy that is not tall and faithful to you that will stay, but you are not appreciating him. So it's important to separate your needs and your wants. Third thing I would say is that note the wrong reasons why people enter relationships. Note the wrong reasons why people enter relationships. Many people enter relationships for the wrong reason. And like I said in my book, 25 Wrong Reasons People Enter a Relationship, I mentioned there that if you enter a relationship for the wrong reasons, you have most likely entered with the wrong person. If you enter a relationship for the wrong reason, you have entered with the wrong person. There are many wrong reasons people enter relationships. You won't believe it is. There are people that actually marry another person, not because they love the person, but because they love marriage. The way I like to say, some people love love, just love love. So I mean, they have no interest in their partner. The truth, they could have married anybody because the real love they have is a love for marriage, is a love for the union. They don't love their partner. So you see that no interest, no passion for the person that they are married to. They are marrying for the wrong reason. Some people marry for financial reasons to get out of poverty. Some people marry for sexual reasons because they want to have access to unlimited sex. And we married folks tell young people that having sex is not all we do every day. There are a lot of other things to do. So there are over 25 reasons probably why wrong reasons why people can enter a relationship. And like I said, if you enter for the wrong reason, you have most likely entered with the wrong person. Note, ask yourself, why do you want a relationship? Because some people don't even know why they want to marry. You say, why do you want to marry? You say, some people are even almost depressed. They are in a hurry. They say, I want a man in my life. I want a woman in my life. I need a woman. And I always ask them, why do you think you need somebody in your life? Why do you think you need a relationship? And they don't know. You see, they just want to do it because everybody's doing it. All my friends are in a relationship. All my friends are dating someone. That's not a reason to enter a relationship. You need to make sure are you ready to get married? Are you ready to commit your life, your finances, your time, your energy to another human being? Are you ready to hand it over to another human being? One of the things we face is that when people get married, they find it hard to adjust from the single life to the married life because they want to live with somebody else and still behave like they are single. They want to live with somebody else and still behave like they're single. So why do you want to marry? Are you ready to marry? Some people are never ready to marry, they just want a relationship. I said, why do you need a relationship now? They say, I just need somebody to talk to. Then that is a friend. That's not a relationship. That's not marriage. You don't need to. You don't need to be in a relationship to have somebody to talk to. So let me even say this. There's people that say things like, we're not going to do anything. I'm not going to commit sin with this person. I just want to be this. I said, look, if you're not ready to marry, then don't start the relationship. If you're not ready to marry, don't start the relationship. It's like putting your favorite food on the table and saying, I'm not eating it for the next 2 years. I just want to be watching it. That's just frustrating yourself. If you know you're not planning to get married anytime soon, then don't dabble into relationships just for the sake of it, just because somebody asked you, just because all your friends are doing it, just because it seems cool. You see, another thing I want young people to know that I wish I knew is that all relationships impact your life. Every time you enter a relationship just for the sake of it, you will never live the same. Some impact, some imprint of that person will rest upon you. So, don't just date for dating's sake. Don't date for fun, like somebody said. If you want fun, go and learn tennis, go and learn golf, but don't toy with another human being's heart if you know you're not ready for marriage. All right. So find out the wrong reasons why people enter relationships and make sure you don't enter for that reason. My wife was the first person I dated, as a Christian. In fact, really as an adult, my wife was the first person I dated really all my life, and I wasn't jumping around relationships. I saw marriage as something eternal, something, serious, and I felt I wouldn't date just because all my friends are dating. I'm among the last people that married among my mates. Many of them, they started early and all that. What they didn't realize is that if you start too early, statistically, people that choose a spouse too early end up either divorced or separated, or if the marriage survives, it's usually a high crisis marriage. Statistically, they found out that if you decide too quick, and the reason is simple. When you are very young, your priorities are changing very quickly. So if you choose too early, you will choose based on where you are, not based on where you are going. You will choose based on where you are, not based on where you're going. And you'll find out that after a few years, you will outgrow that decision. After a few years, you will begin to feel, I made a mistake. So allow time to mature. There is no rush when it comes to choosing a life partner. There is no rush. Allow for maturity. Allow time. Allow time. All right? No time is too late. God's timing is always the best. Just be patient and spend your younger years investing in your relationship with God, then investing in your relationship with you. There's a message I have titled 3 things you must find before you find the one. So the first thing there is that you need to find God. You need to find God. That's another thing I wish people knew. I wish I became a Christian early enough, because it gives your life direction. It gives your life direction. You would never know what you're capable of until your maker shows you what you're capable of. You see, if you're looking at other people around you, you'll be limiting yourself. Sometimes you're even greater than the people you admire, but you need a relationship with your maker to actually see your true capabilities. So find God. Second one is find your purpose, find where you're going in life. You see, the moment I knew where I was going, I knew I was a pastor, I knew I was also supposed to help marriages and all that. It streamlined the kind of choices I made as regards almost everything, including marriage. It just streamlined the choices. I just knew there are some things I couldn't do. I just knew there's some people I could never marry no matter what, because I knew where I was going. Purpose kind of helps you make decisions. And the third thing you need to find is finding yourself. So what do you know about yourself? What are your needs? Like I mentioned earlier, what are your needs separate from your wants? Somebody like me, I knew that I was highly mentally stimulated. You know, I need intelligence around me, and that's just who I am. So I knew that no matter how beautiful a lady was, if she could not stimulate me mentally, you know, I would not be attracted to her. I knew that. Now, of course, I liked beautiful girls. I liked fine girls, yes, but I knew. You see, I had spent time with me. Some people are trying to get into a relationship. They never spent enough time with their adult self. You need to know who you are. Know who you are. Know what you can stand and what you can't stand. Because there's no use giving yourself to somebody else when you don't even know yourself. Spend some time with yourself. You see, I had known myself. I knew I was highly mentally stimulated, more than I was visually stimulated. So I knew that, yes, I wanted to marry a fine woman, and my wife is very fine. You know, she was the finest girl in my secondary school. You know, so I knew she was very fine. But you see, that was not all, because I had met other fine girls before I met her. But I was looking for somebody that would stimulate me mentally. I was looking for somebody that would share my purpose with me, that would understand what my life's calling was. You see, I was looking for somebody that had character, that had stability, you know, that already loved God. You know, I didn't want to marry somebody I would be dragging to church. I don't want to marry somebody that will be showing scripture that, don't you know this is what the Bible says? I want to marry somebody that, even when we are talking, even if we're not quoting scripture, we both know what rules our lives. We both know that, look, God is the final authority. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. You know, so find God, find your purpose, then find yourself. When you find yourself, it streamlines your choices. Streamlines your choices. So, note those wrong reasons why people enter relationships, and you know, let it guide you. Let it guide you. Don't just enter a relationship for the sake of it. Don't enter because you feel you are getting old. Don't enter because you feel all your friends are getting into relationships. Don't enter because, oh, you want to quench your sexual desire. Self-control doesn't end. That's another major thing. You know, I wish I knew. Self-control doesn't end when you get married. Many young people are saying, oh, you know, let's have sex, let's sleep with each other. Well, at least we're planning to get married, you know, so there's no need to wait. We can have sex as long as we're going to be just get married. Listen, if you're a young person here, listen to me. Character is not built inside marriage. Character is built before marriage. All right? Character is not built inside marriage. Character is built before marriage. If both of you cannot honor God by keeping your bodies, then even when you get married, there will be a struggle to keep your bodies. Let me explain what I mean. Every adulterer is a fornicator in training. All right? Or let me say this way. Every fornicator is an adulterer in training. So basically, you know, if you cheat on God now when you are single by having sexual relations, and I don't just mean only intercourse, any sexual relations, you know, from kissing to petting and all that, as long as you're not married, any sexual relations between two unmarried people is a sin. You know, and when you build that foundation when you are single, you will find out that that same foundation will follow you into marriage. You know, a lizard in singleness will not become an alligator in marriage. You are still the same person. If both of you can't show self-control before marriage, you will not be able to show self-control inside marriage. Same thing. Marriage doesn't change anybody. It only reveals who you are. So if you cannot show self-control, self-restraint now that you're single by honoring God with your body, By honoring God, with your discipline, you will also struggle with it. 98% or thereabout of couples that have issues with infidelity in their marriage, if you go and check well, there was a foundation of fornication before. All that happened was that they got used to taking what was not theirs. So when they got married, the same lifestyle of taking something that is not yours continues. All right. So you need to know that. Build that foundation. Build that foundation. One or two more things I'll mention before my time is up. I'm just packing it up as much as I can. Another thing I wish I knew that I've learned of late is how much your parents' marriage will impact you. Your parents' marriage impacts you. I mean, on my job as a counselor, a lot of times when we're dealing with crisis situations, we find out that there's an impact from the lifestyle of the parents of those people we're counseling. It impacts you. In fact, it impacts you. There are two ways it can impact you. It's either, now there are a few people that have parents that have great marriages, so that's great. But the other options are like this. If you have parents that had very bad marriage, maybe let's say the man was abusing the woman physically, or the man was very verbally abusive, anything at all, there's a high chance that the boys or the children of those marriages will also either be abusive or be accepting of abuse. They'll either be abusive, or they will also be very accepting of those abuse, because that normal, that thing they've seen in their parents' marriage is now like a normal for them. It's normal for them. So they can reproduce it. Another thing that can happen is that the children might have seen something very wrong in the parents' marriage, and they will run away. They will go to the next extreme of that same thing that they've seen. They've seen, abuse, so they are doing their best to run away from that abuse, and they will go to the other extreme of being totally non-confrontational, totally, not being able to stand up to truth, because they are doing their best not to reproduce that thing. So your parents' marriage generally will impact you. It will impact you. So when you are, as you're a single person now, you need to note that as you're about to choose a husband or a wife, you're not just choosing a husband for yourself. You're choosing a father for your children. You're not just choosing a wife for yourself. You're choosing a mother for your children. So you need to look at this person and say, is this the legacy I want to leave? Is this the kind of, family I want to build? You have to see it like that now. You have to see that person you are with and say, is this, our coming together, will this produce the kind of family that will last, the kind of family we'll be proud of? Will I be happy to have kids in this marriage? Will this man be the kind of father I want for my children? Will this woman be the kind of mother I want for my kids? Even to points of how your parents handle crisis or conflict, you find out that the children pick it up. In homes where when there's conflict, there's malice for a long time, the children pick it up. It becomes their normal. In a case where when there's conflict and one person goes and slams the door, all those small things, children pick it up and they grow and begin to reproduce it. In fact, scientifically and all that, they found out that, the way our minds work, our mind doesn't pick little words. It just picks the main word of your thought. So if you're saying, I will never abuse my wife, I will never abuse my wife, your mind is not picking I will never. It's just picking abuse my wife, abuse my wife. So there's a high chance, if you're even saying, I won't do this thing, there's a high chance you will reproduce exactly that. We found out in couples where there's high issue of infidelity, if you trace it sometimes, they grew in homes where the parents too were high in infidelity. So basically, one of the things I wish I knew was how much parents' marriages impact the children. So if you're coming from homes like that, you need to make sure that you've gone through a process of healing, a process of renewing your mind. Pick the great things. If you're in a home where your parents had a lot of great qualities, pick those things. If they had things that are not so great, be careful, not to reproduce those ones. Be careful not to reproduce those ones. All right. Another thing I wish I knew, is the impact of sex in a human being's life. And we live in a sex-crazed world. Satan is just an expert at painting the picture that sex doesn't mean anything. Unfortunately, even at this moment, we have a live show going on our channels on TV today, where random strangers are seen by the world, by our young people having sex. Random strangers, people that just barely knew each other. They've met just for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, and they're already having sex. You see, and nobody's complaining, nobody's bothered. That's what they're showing our world. That's what they're showing our world. That's what they're showing our young people. I wish somebody would share how costly casual sex is. Casual sex always has casualties. Casual sex always has casualties. And I wish we could help our young people realize that it is such an expensive, habit. It's such such a costly decision to make. But most young people don't know that, because the image that the media is painting to them is that, hey, there's nothing there. What is there in sex? Anybody can have sex. That is not true. That is not true. I did a message titled 7 Sex Lies, and I'll round up with that. Then if I have questions, I will answer them. 7 sex lies. There are lies the devil is telling young people about sex. I will go through some of them. Number 1, the devil is telling young people that, it's just sex. No big deal. It's just sex. Please, if you're a young person, listen to me. It's not just sex. Sex is such a big deal. You see, the way to know what sex is about is to first find out what's the meaning. What's the purpose of sex? If you don't know the purpose of sex, then you can be confused as to whether it is costly or not. When you understand the purpose for it, the real design and purpose for sex is to join 2 people together permanently. That's the real purpose for sex. In Genesis, it mentioned it that the 2 shall become one flesh. Then in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, it said, whoever is joined to the harlot. In fact, the way it says it is that 1 Corinthians 6 verse 16. It says, what? Paul was saying, like, what? As in, you really don't know? He said, whosoever is joined to an harlot or to anybody is one with that harlot. He said, whosoever is joined to the harlot is one with the harlot. He said, and the 2 of them shall become one. The 2 of them shall become one. So sex is designed to join 2 people together permanently. So the way God designed it, these 2 people should already have signed an agreement to be together permanently. Then they use sex as a cement to make sure that decision they've already made becomes permanent. But what the devil tells me that, there's no big deal. Also, young people don't realize that for every time you have a sexual encounter with someone, you are not only opening your legs, you're opening your soul. And some permanent things are being done that will become difficult to break away from. So psychologically and spiritually, you are joining with somebody in your body that you are not joining with in real life, somebody that you have not married. So you find out that even when you now want to go and marry another person, you are struggling with this person that you are with. As a counselor, I've dealt with cases where on the wedding night, this is not even 2 weeks after the marriage, wedding night, one party, maybe the wife, is texting her ex about the sex with her own husband. Wedding night, because she's still attached. She's still struggling to let go of the ex because of sexual intercourse. Scientifically, they found out that it's even worse when the person is your first, is your best, or is your most intimate. So if either the person was your first, the person was somebody who sex was really great, or somebody you were very intimate with, when you were having the sex, it becomes a bond that is difficult to break. But you see, the media won't paint that picture. They'll just tell you it's casual sex, no big deal. No, young people, it's a big deal. I wish I knew that, and I wish more young people would know that decision to sleep with somebody is going to be very costly. It doesn't disappear that easily. On that thing, the devil tells young people is that, nobody will get hot. When you sleep with the guy, you sleep with the girl, nobody gets hot. That's a big lie. People are getting hot every day. People are getting hot every day. We don't want to mention things like the diseases, the amount of diseases that is spread. We don't want to mention things like unwanted pregnancies. I did a research some time ago, and I found out that, today we're dealing with the pandemic COVID-19. In America as of today, I think about 120,000 or something like that people have died from COVID-19, and the whole America is screaming. But me, I'm laughing. I'm not laughing because I'm happy people are dying. I'm laughing because You know, America is just not facing the reality, for instance, because in America, abortion rate is over a million every year. So unwanted sex is killing over 1 million people, and nobody's bothered about that. However, we're bothered about 130,000 people that are dying. More people are dying from unwanted sex. In fact, from the year 1977 or 70 or so to year 2017 or something like that, I can't remember the exact figures now. About 40 million abortions were done in America. 40 million. I mean, the whole of Ghana is 30 million. The whole of Ghana, the country Ghana, is 30 million. That means America aborted Ghana with change. With change. Is that serious? You know, but somebody saying nobody's getting hot. No, people are getting hot. People are getting hot. Millions of people are getting hot. Not to talk of the people that have to keep these babies sometimes and drop out of school, stop working, or, you know, all the things that go on. In Nigeria, we found there are times people have dropped babies by the dustbin, dropped babies in the gutters. That is the cost of casual sex. Nobody's getting hot. You know, my time is almost running. I have like 5 minutes. Let me pack it in. The CEO of one of the biggest fast food chains in the world, the biggest fast food chain in the world, the last CEO they had, he just resigned like a year plus. Biggest fast food chain in the world. He had to resign. Why did he resign? Now, this guy was so big, you know, his income in a month was about $3 million. His income in a month was about $3 million. I don't know if that has Nigerian equivalent, Naira equivalent. I mean, $3 million is maybe, I don't know. This monthly income, I think that's like over $1 billion Naira, I think. This monthly income. And he had to resign the job. Just a little, he did the job for over a year or there, but he had to resign. And why did he resign? He's the CEO, he had sexual relations with one of the junior staff. Now, he's a divorced man, the junior staff was single, so it wasn't even, you know, it wasn't a moral issue, it wasn't a Christian issue, let me say it that way. It wasn't a Christian issue, they were both adults, you know. However, there was a company policy that as a senior staff, you can't have such a relations with a junior staff. So he had to resign. As in, this man lost a $3 million income job because of sex. And you say nobody's getting hot. If he was in his right senses, he could have even started a company for that woman and married her or whatever else. If it's sex you want, but you see, when you have built the habit of having sex like that, the day you need to make smart decisions, you've not developed enough self-control to make that decision. He lost that job. I can go on and on. There are presidents that have lost their seats. There are CEOs that have lost their companies. I can go on and on and on of the impact of sex. And they say nobody's getting hot. That's not true. People are getting hot. I'll end with this one because my time, I've spent more than this time. So I'll end with this last one. You know, they said on that lie that the devil telling young people is that everybody's doing it. That, oh, when it comes to sex, everybody's sleeping around. Oh, wow. That is another lie of the devil. It's not everybody that is sleeping around. There are many virgins out there. There are many people living a pure life, a holy life. There are many people that are celibate out there. Don't let the devil make you feel it's everybody that's doing it. It's not true. Last year alone, there was 1 week. In 1 week, I canceled 2 couples that were about to get married. The 2 couples were all virgins. That's the 4 of them were virgins. And they were adults in their 30s that had gone through university, served and everything in their 30s. And 4 of them were virgins. So there are still many people, even in Nigeria here, that are keeping themselves. I've wedded more virgins than I've wedded non-virgins as a pastor. So there are more and more people keeping them, but the devil will tell you, the devil will paint the picture like, oh, you're the only one not having sex. That's not true. The devil is just louder in his own propaganda. He's louder in making noise. But there are many people keeping themselves. And if those people can keep themselves, you too can keep yourself, because your decision to be sexually involved impacts your decision for who to marry. It has a way of making you not focus on the right things as regarding that person. If you have started sleeping with that person, you don't want to look at, you don't want to go again because you're already emotionally and psychologically attached. So even when you are noticing character flaws in that person, you are not willing to break the relationship because you're already involved sexually. There are so many things. And so, but I just want to challenge you, invest in knowledge about relationships, in coaching about relationships, in meetings. Thank God for those of you that are joined to this meeting. Meetings like this, you are not too young to start to learn, because the decision for who you marry is one of the most important decisions you make. It will play a major role in your happiness in life. And I wish this time has blessed you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Kingsley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was, I mean, I was on mute, but I was screaming while I'm seated just by myself. Just the revelation and the words that you spoke, filled with wisdom and definitely from a wealth of experience. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of a number of people here to say thank you for sharing so honestly, openly, and deeply with us. I know we have questions already. Pastor Kingsley has just a few minutes with us, see, about 10 more minutes to take questions. Some people have sent, so I will start from their question and then I'll move on. If you have any, kindly send. Don't forget, if you want to send an anonymous question, you can do so as well. Simply send to Identify a Beautiful Life. It's on there by Kenny, the handle, and send to them privately if you want to remain anonymous, and we will keep you anonymous. Right, so this question, first one, Pastor, is that the person says, thank you so much. Can I please remind everyone to mute your, thank you so much, to mute your mics if you're not speaking. The only person who is speaking at the moment is perhaps myself and Pastor Kingsley. Thank you, but please you can put in the chat section your question so we can pose it to him. This question says, thank you so much for your powerful teaching. Is physical attraction not also important when choosing a partner? Is it okay to be with someone that you like spiritually and mentally, but not physically? I think this goes back to what you said about your wants versus your needs.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. Good question. And it would have been something I would have even liked to have addressed earlier on. But let me say this: your feelings does not operate independently of itself. Many people actually just think that, oh, what I feel is the final authority. No, it's not. Your feelings are totally fed or controlled by your thoughts. So what you program in your mind affects what you have affection for. Your affections don't operate on their own. So let me give you an example. From when we were young, we've been painted pictures of what beauty is. So if you look at the cartoons, even from any love cartoon, you will hardly see a fat woman there being the main character. So it's a slim, tall woman, pretty, long nose, that is termed as beautiful. Then you become a teenager. All the musical videos and the movies you also watch at that age, the beautiful person looks a certain way. Then they do beauty pageants. The beautiful person looks a certain way. Then they do models on the wrong way. The ladies look a certain way. You have been conditioned unknowingly to think a certain thing is beautiful. But the truth is that everything God makes is actually beautiful. But now you will grow and see that woman that looks slim and beautiful. And slim and pointed nose and everything. And you will say, I'm attracted to her, because you are thinking that that's your decision. No, you were programmed to that decision. Same thing with ladies. They are seen tall, dark, and handsome. It was programmed. Short, fat, and whatever is also handsome. But you were programmed to believe a certain way. And your affections are following that programming. So you think it was you that decided who to be attracted to. It's not you. You were programmed to believe so. And by the time you marry that person, you will find out. I've not seen a couple married for 20 years, 30 years, and you ask them, why are you still married? Or why are you happily married? And they tell you, oh, because my husband is handsome. You never hear that. Or my wife is beautiful. No. At the long run, the wants begin to fade. What will make you be attracted to somebody is how caring they are. How much connections you face. So you enjoy. So once there's real emotional and mental connection, there's spiritual connection, you will gradually begin to find that person attractive. If you are just a bit that have been experienced a bit, you'll find out there are people you met, and on the first meeting, you didn't feel they were looking great physically. But once you got to know them and you became really close to them, you actually felt this girl is fine, or this guy is nice, because you've known them beyond the physical. And the world programs us like that to think everything is skin deep. It's not. It's not. It won't matter in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time. What you think of? Yeah, the person will be fine if they are fine in character, they will be fine physically. Now, this doesn't mean to say, oh, physical appearance doesn't matter at all. It does, but I'm saying in the 3 levels of connections human beings have, physical comes last. The first one should be spiritual. Are you guys in agreement spiritually? The second one should be emotionally and mentally. Do we connect in terms of our soul? Can I talk to you? Are you my friend? Are you the kind of person I want to share with? Do we connect on the same level? If those 2 are in place, it's rare for the physical not to be, workable. It's very rare. And once in a while, yes, it's possible to meet somebody that has all three going. But most times, it might not be so. So be willing to deal with the ones that are most important, the spiritual, the mental, then the physical. If you really connect with somebody emotionally and mentally, you will find out with time, they will look better to you than they looked the first time before you knew them. All right. So the point is that we are programmed. Our thinking, brings out our affection. I'll end with this example for moving to the next question. If I show you, for those people that love bags, I don't know what young people love, but for mature ladies, I know women like bags, shoes, things like that. If you're a bag lady, you like bags. If I show you a plain brown bag, there will be no emotions. If they write LV on that same bag, emotions will just come because of that name. It's the same bag, but you see, your mind recognizes those two letters. So your mind will pump affections out. So I'm just trying to show you that your affections don't operate independently, like most people think. It doesn't. It's a function of what has been programmed into your mind. Okay? I hope that helps the person.
That's brilliant. I'm sure that more than helps. Thank you so much, sir. All right, I have some more questions. We're getting deeper into this. I'll ask a set of questions at once, if that's okay. The first one says, we were actively involved sexually during the first 3 months of our relationship. Right now, we've decided to go celibate. It's been hard, but we've placed boundaries. Do you think it's okay to continue with this relationship? Then the next one talks about this. Pastor, please, how can I cope with a woman that easily gets angry, but difficult? She finds it difficult to forgive. Should I, what happens in case I marry her? And the third one, so 3 questions, sir. So I hope, so the first one is on sex. The second is on anger. The third one is going back to your question around the impact of your parents' marriage on you and ultimately your marriage. You said for those who were born into a marriage that wasn't so pleasant, what are practical tips to renew their minds? Because you said they can also help so that they don't repeat the cycle. What are practical tips you suggest to someone who perhaps was born into a home that wasn't very pleasant?
Okay, I'll run through them. The first one, you've been sexually active and now you want to stop. That's great. I would also suggest you guys get some accountability. Don't leave it to just both of you. Sin always thrives in secrecy. One of the things that beats sin any day, anytime is openness, transparency. Once you bring sin out to the open, it loses its power. Even mad people don't have sex in the public. I've seen people that are mentally challenged that are pregnant or have children, but nobody knew when they had the sex. So even in that state, they knew that they couldn't have sex in the open. There's something about openness that brings healing. So if you know that, we've been sexually active, but we want to stop, want to do things right, get somebody else that both of you respect, that both of you love, that both of you trust, to be in agreement with you. Just that act of accountability and openness will totally increase your chances of making it, because that way you know that you have to answer to somebody. There's somebody else involved. It's not just you. Because if it's just both of you, you can once in a while think, let's just do it, we'll start again. You keep doing those kind of things. So you must be accountable to somebody. So the relationship can still work, but please get somebody else involved and make sure the person can also make sure the measures are the right measures, and things like that. The other one was an issue of anger. If my spouse always gets angry, well, we need to first trace why she gets angry. Is it that you are the one causing her anger, or she already has anger issues? Once we can trace what is the cause, then we can begin to profile solutions on how to solve it. So if she's dealing with anger issues that is even outside of you, then she has to go back to the root of what that cause of the anger is and deal with it, because it's impossible not to be offended in life. You must be offended. So you must be willing to learn how to grow and how to deal with the anger. It's better you deal with it before you get married, because what happens is that a lot of people get married and they want to grow in the marriage, and it's not every marriage that can survive the process of you growing. It's not every marriage, because by the time you are growing, your partner might have been worn out, might have logged out, too much damage might have been done. So find out, why is this person getting angry? Can we work on it now? Do we both even agree that there's something to work on? But if the other person is in denial or doesn't even agree that they have anger issues, then you can't even do anything about it. Because you can't dodge from the offense. The offense will always come. either caused by you or somebody else. So let's deal with the anger issues before we start. All right, we need to get to the roots of it. I've had so many cases like that where the ladies or the guys were fighters. They had serious anger issues coming from their family background, and they fought everybody, fought pastor, fought a boss in the office, fought parents. They had the issue, and they enter relationships and it continues, and until the marriage breaks down. So find out the why, then we can deal with it from there. The third question is about my parents' marriage. What do I do? What are practical steps to do? Number one, try and identify the positive things you can pick from your parents' marriage, if there is. Then also identify the things that you feel are toxic, things that you feel are not good. Third thing you can do, talk to a trained counselor, because the person can ask you questions that will help you realize. Because the truth is that sometimes you're not even in a position to know that this is a toxic thing you have picked up. You might even know that there's a character flaw going on. But a good counselor and a good therapist will ask you questions that will reveal, where you are and that if you have any of these toxic behaviors. Then number four, look for positive role models, because all you're trying to do is to reprogram your mind. That's what you're trying to do. So you're looking for positive role models, people that actually enjoy love, enjoy marriage, and start seeing the positives in it. So let them mentor you. Let them be in somewhere you can see that positive image will affect how you see marriage, and that will begin to help you from there. So.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Thanks for your time. Final question, final, and then we'll let you go. I know a number of people, and this is how it works usually. I'm sure you're used to this.
Yes.
Once one person asks, we then have a floodgate of questions. But because of our time, and we do have our next speakers already here, I will just ask this final one. But thank you so much for doing such great justice to the questions asked. All right, so this one says, Pastor, you mentioned something about why we want marriage. Is it wrong to want to get married because you think you're ready or at that stage in life, and because you want companionship? Are these reasons wrong?
It depends on the reasons. If it's just that you want companionship, it's not totally wrong, but at the same time, it's not the only reason why you need to get married. So what makes it wrong sometimes is when you build that decision around that need alone. That way you go into marriage thinking that this person is going to meet that need, and you will find out the person doesn't have the time to sit with you all the time. So, for instance, sex is one of the benefits of marriage, but sex can't be the only reason or the main reason why you are getting married, because you are setting yourself up for disappointment. Companionship is one of the benefits of marriage, but it can't be the main reason. You can't just say, oh, I just want somebody talking to me. You might get married, you guys live in Lagos, the guy wakes up early in the morning to go to work, traffic coming back, he's late, he doesn't have energy to talk with you. You'll be disappointed because you have set up yourself, to be disappointed. So it has to be well-balanced, well-rounded. It can't be built on just one of these things. The foundation must be balanced. So that's what we're trying to say. So it's not as if companionship is bad, but marriage is not all about you. It's not all about giving. It's not about taking, it's also about giving. But what I discovered is that a lot of people enter, for what they can get. They are so upset by what they're going to get, Oh, this person will keep me company. This person will love me. This person will talk to me. And they enter with that demand and find out that the supply is not what they were thinking. And there's nothing that breaks people's hearts or breaks marriages like unmet expectations. Oh, this person will take away all my financial stress. And then you enter the marriage and find out the person also is struggling to get their finances together. Unmet expectations, the marriage just breaks. I've seen too many of those cases. So it must be well-rounded, it must be well-balanced, before you make that decision.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Pastor Kingsley. I hate to do this, but someone sent a very important one, and I think it would help everyone, even for those who came in a bit late. And that's the final question. I'm sure you'd understand this because pastors say this a lot. Finally. So this is my finally for the last. So it touches on what you said about spiritual attraction being very important. So we talked about the order being spiritual, mental, intellectual, then physical, before physical comes in. Now, she's saying that of all three, you said we should focus on the one that matters. Does that mean if the person meets 1 and 2, that's spiritual and intellectual, but you don't feel physically attracted to the person in any way, you can forgo that and just go ahead? Also, physical attraction is like the first thing that will draw you to the person in most cases. That's what usually leads to even finding out about the spiritual and mental state of the person. So does this order stand for everyone?
Good question. The first issue is that we all need to work on our minds, because as long as your mind has an image of what beautiful is or what handsome is, then a lot of times you will miss what God has for you. So let me give an example. I was like the average young guy. I had watched beauty pageants, I had watched movies, so I had an image of what beautiful was. I expected it to be tall, slim, and all that. When I met my wife, she wasn't tall, she wasn't slim. Okay, but I got attracted first because of her intellect. I got attracted because she was smart, because I knew I was highly mentally stimulated. So I knew that was important to me. And in the course of that, I now saw how beautiful she was. So you need to work on your mind. Really, the principles of God can't work for you without a relationship with the principle. You can't separate the two. So, for instance, if I say spiritual connection, if you are not a spiritual person, then you can't value spiritual connection. There's nothing I can do for you. You can't value spiritual. You will still value shape. You will still value hips. You will still value muscles more than spirituality. Only that when you get into the marriage and find out that, we need to pray about something, and Mr. Muscle can't pray. Mr. Muscle can't make the kind of decisions you want. Mr. Muscle can't father your children the way you want. Then you now be disappointed. You see, because when you were young, you didn't know the need for a man that knows God. You didn't know the need for a man that can lead. You just wanted Mr. Muscle because that's all you've watched. Same thing with a guy. You've just seen shape. That's all you've seen. So you need to renew your mind for it to make sense to you. If your mind is not renewed, then you'll be stuck with, yes, physical is the first thing that you must see. And like I said, when I was single too, I saw some very fine girls physically. But when I got close to them, I knew that, no, this is not the kind of person I can spend the rest of my life with. We didn't just connect on other levels. And beauty fades. That's what the Bible says. Beauty is vain. No matter how beautiful somebody is, when you live with them for 5 years, 10 years, you will not be seeing that beauty anymore. It's the beauty of their character that you'll be noticing. So that one must be there. You can't even negotiate that. So that's what the Bible said, beauty is vain, charm is deceitful, but the woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So they were pointing to character. In fact, everywhere in scripture where beauty was referenced as regards to marriage, they were contrasting it to things of higher value. Everywhere. So like this one I quoted now, beauty is vain, charm is deceitful. It's a woman that fears the Lord shall be praised. You will see where Solomon said, a beautiful face. So they're not saying beauty is bad, but they are contrasting it with other things. They are saying a woman that it's not the adorning of the outward, the plaiting of hair and wearing earrings. It's a woman that has a meek and quiet spirit. So everywhere in the Bible where you see them talking about beauty, they are contrasting it with qualities that are better. So your mind needs to even be renewed to understand these things I'm saying. If not, then you are stuck on just beauty. Only that when you get married, though, after a while, you will come to realize this thing, but you are inside the marriage already. And this is where many couples, between me and you, Kenny, this is where many couples are struggling, because they are now inside. They now find out, oh, this woman can't carry on an intelligent conversation with me. This man is not faithful, or this man is not caring. But he has muscles. She has the shape. And that outward beauty has faded now, but the inward man, he said, though the outward man perishes, he said the inward one is renewed day by day. If you have good emotional and mental connection with your spouse, the friendship can get better and stronger, but the beauty would not, because your bodies will be failing every day. Nobody remains the same way physically. See a couple that is married for 50 years, their bodies have started falling, but they can be greatly in love. It won't be physical. That man can't be saying that woman holding walking stick is pretty. Now, she might be pretty to him, but it's more emotional, not physical. Because then all her body is not the same. The same to the man, his teeth might be falling off. He doesn't have muscles anymore. But how caring the person is will now matter. So that's what happens most times.
Thank you very much, Pastor Kingsley. Thank you. And we just want to, I'm sure I speak for everyone and I say that on behalf of A Beautiful Life, ABL, and of course, Mrs. Kenyuwani, thank you for your time. And thank you for doing great justice to the topic this evening. Of course, the questions are still flooding in, but this is where we will have to definitely come to an end. And please, everyone, if you're listening or you're watching, kindly put a round of applause in the chat section so that Pastor Kingsley can see it and know just how much we appreciate his time here. If you didn't, I mean, there's one profound statement, both for married and single people, and that is that marriage is about destiny. It is not a reward. It is an assignment. He started with that profound statement, and I think if there's a takeaway, we must remember this in everything we do in our choice, decision, and the way that we treat marriage, even post, whilst we're in it. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ayo.
All right.
Thank you so much.
ABL, we're still here, and we're still. Thank you, sir. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're still here, and we're still having this conversation around what we wish we knew. Some of the questions, I'm sure that Mrs. Wani will be more than happy, because I see a number of some people, one person sent a message and said he wouldn't mind her weighing in, and I think I'll reserve that for when we'll open the microphone for her to speak. 30 years experience, we need to glean from her wisdom. But before we go to another session of questions, we have our next guests waiting, and I'm really delighted to introduce them to us this evening very quickly. Just to remind us that if you want to send in questions during the course of the conversation, kindly do so by sending through the chat message, or send directly if you want to remain anonymous to A Beautiful Life. You'll find A Beautiful Life on there. Just send it privately to them and we will read out your question anonymously. All right, ladies and gentlemen, after that powerful first keynote address, are you ready for the next one? I'm sure I can hear echoes of yeses around the world. Our next guests are a couple consultant and an executive leadership coach with over 27 years experience of coaching CEOs and consulting for organizations to establish them, enable them achieve exponential business growth in their key performance areas. He's also a guest lecturer on leadership at the prestigious Stanford University. He's married, happily so, to Tara, a renowned beauty entrepreneur and Chief Executive Officer of the House of Tara International, and together they have 3 sons. They've been able to build a marriage for years and have been able to sustain it despite being in the public eye. Today, we're going to be learning from their experience on what we wish we knew. They'll be sharing with us openly on immediately afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can see or you can listen to us in the chat box, or if you want to make a little noise, please make some noise as we make very welcome Tara and Fela Durotoye.
Thank you, Mrs. Wani, and everyone who's on here. Well done. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And thank you to everyone who's also signed on to this program. My prayer is that our story, which is what we have, our reality, when we share it, the lives will be transformed and changed forever in Jesus' name. Thank you to Pastor Kingsley for such an explosive, detailed...
Amazing! Amazing, Pastor Kingsley.
Amazing, amazing. And well done to Pastor Kingsley as well for the light that he shared as he spoke.
Okay, well, so one of my favorite people, my sister from when I was growing up, Mrs. Wani. God bless you, and God bless everybody that's here. I hope you've really gleaned so much. I think most of the time I am likely to be quoting and saying, like Pastor Kingsley said, so don't worry, just when you start hearing me say it, at least I prepared you at the time. But Tara has so much wisdom and grace and poise, and I'm really just happy that we're here to share with you. We'll be real with you, so as we always are. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, so do we just start?
Moderator?
Yes, what do we do?
Are we being asked anything?
Please just start. Just tell us about your story. And just,
so we've been married for 19 years. And it's been a very interesting journey. ups and downs. We've had our very great times. We've had some not so great times, and we've had times that was just neither here nor there. But I think to a large extent, Sugar, how many percentage would you say that we've had great times?
Well, I think that we've had more great times than not. You know, we've been lucky enough because of the things that we hold dear to ourselves, and so I think we've had more times. So,
what percentage would you give?
I'd say 70% at the very minimum.
You know, it's very.
I think our children think that we've had 100%.
So Fela said 70%. I had a conversation with someone just before a counseling session, just before I came on, and I actually said to him that Fela would say 70, 65%, but I will say 95%, right? And obviously we're different, but in this marriage, I feel that I have had 95% happiness, 95% happiness in the marriage. And if you
but I didn't say 65, I said 70, just so you know.
But I was almost correct. I said 70%, right? But I think that one of the things that we wish we knew and that we underestimated was how important it is for both parties to be intentional about staying happily married. I think I underestimate, Fela underestimated, but how important it is for both parties to be intentional about staying happily. The word is happily married. And that every time both parties are fixated and committed enthusiastically with a militancy that we are going to stay married and we're going to stay happily married, I think that half of the problem has already been solved. And that what we're experiencing now is that sometimes one party is willing, another party is not willing. Sometimes one party is willing to put in the work, another party is not willing. And in some cases, both parties are not willing to put in the work that is required. And I think that the work that's required is a reality. Marriage is not for babies. Marriage is not for boys. Marriage is not for girls. Marriage is for people who are ready to put in the work that is required. And until you're willing to put in the work that's required, it's like going to university and deciding that you want to come with the first class. There's work that's required, and there's no day that work will not be demanded of you. If you don't put it in, then you're not ready to have that happy, successful, long-term marriage.
Well, I think the other thing that I think is very important is that intentionality must not be seen from the point of view of what the other person must do. It must be from what I must do. So the only I that is required in marriage is the one that is in the I called service. So service has I, right? And that I in service, in other words, everything I want from a marriage, I have to bring to the marriage. And we didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought that most of the things I desired were things that are going to be results, but I didn't realize that they were the things that were supposed to be my target, my goal. So happiness in marriage was not going to happen to me. It was going to happen because of me. And therefore, I was going to have to make, and sometimes to be happy in marriage, you're going to decide what is important to you and what is not important enough.
And I think that's what Pastor Kingsley was saying, what you need and what your wants are.
Yeah.
So at some point you say to yourself, you know what? My happiness is more important than
whether the toothpaste is in squeeze from the middle or the. I mean, my first year, I went through trauma, because my wife was squeezing toothpaste from the middle. I could not
anywhere.
I could not believe.
Or eating. So Fela eats in an order, right? So he eats from here to there, but systematically. I, on the other hand, eat in different places. So I can eat here, eat in the middle, and guess what? I actually liked eating his food. So you can imagine the kind of headache. Like, immediately I'm coming, it's like, God, don't let her eat the middle. And then jump to the side. And he was really, really traumatized by it.
But you see, over time, you then begin to realize what is important and what is not. And so most times I think that it comes back to this thing, and I think is what I would like to touch is learning, that we must be intentional to go into marriage with a mentality of I'm going to learn. I mean, I know that, so Yoruba people say, ile oko ile eko ni, which means that, it's the marriage, the home is a learning institution. But because they call it ile oko, most times we've been programmed to think that it's only the woman who's supposed to go in to learn how to operate and succeed in her husband's house. So there are many that paradigm already is flawed from the first time, is that she never really is going to be seen as this is my home. It's just that I'm going to my husband's home and this is my school. And so, meanwhile, guess what? I've never been a husband before, right? And more importantly, regardless of, we are both learning through this. And then there are so many changes that are going to happen to you individually and to you collectively, that you're going to really spend most of your time learning about who the new me is, who the new Tara is, who the new we are.
So I got married at 24, right? I had my first, I got pregnant almost immediately. So I was pregnant the first year of marriage, had a baby. I'd never been pregnant before. I'd never had a baby before. My body changed. And the question is, how is Fela going to respond to the new me and my new body, okay? Then I was breastfeeding this child for 11 months. And then all of a sudden I got pregnant again. Now I had 2 babies, right? Had a baby, had 2 babies. And I was this girl that he met who was this bubbly, whatever. But here I was turning into a zombie, right? Who was looking for changing diaper bags every 5 minutes, talking about diaper, baby food, and thinking about a new house help. The one that has come has gone. And then thinking about my small business that I was trying to grow all at the same time. And at the same time, but you know what? I met you as this girl who was so committed to the Lord, who was a prayer warrior. And then here it is, I'm not praying as much. Wow. And then my whole life, then I got pregnant again. Then I had...
I mean, yes, I am responsible. I must quickly admit that, but it was not our intention.
For that to happen like that, but it did happen.
Yes, it did happen.
And guess what? That was the change, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then there's also a change with having teenagers as children. Yeah. And my first child is now 18 years old. Yeah. And Fela has to become a father to an 18-year-old that he didn't know how to be before. And now he's becoming that. And I have to watch. And somebody said, you are guilty as charged.
Yes.
Right? And adjusting. And then what about changes in your profession, right? In your career. So I married you as a pastor, for example, and then you decided you don't want to pastor anymore. You now want to own a business. You want to become an entrepreneur, or you were an entrepreneur before and you've now gotten a job. All these things are the changes that sometimes we do not realize that we're going to walk into. I mean, if anybody had told my husband I was going to run for office, I would have said no.
I would have said no.
Exactly. Like Fela Durotoye can never run for office. But you know what? I woke up one day and that was my reality. And it took me time to adjust, took me a long time to adjust to that reality. And then when I got to that point, I put my head there. You know, my head got in fully. But those were real changes. And I wonder what next, right? What are the changes that we're going to experience in the next, when he becomes older, when he's old, what is the changes? But I think all of this, I'm super excited for our future, because I think that when the change comes, we're going to embrace it and enjoy it while we are.
Because we are intentional. And I think that we've come to that point where our joy in marriage, our peace in this home, and the love in this home have become that's our heightened priority. I'm glad that it's not just mine, but it's ours. But guess what? I'm not relying on Tara to provide the love, peace, and joy. That is my job. And to her, that is her job. You know, and I always say to people, I think one of the greatest pieces of advice we ever received was in the week of our marriage. My mom, God bless her soul, had called Tara and I together, and she had a meeting with us. And she actually shared something that changed my life and my perspective. And the first thing she said to us was that we should convert every door in our home into a wall. Now, I remember looking at my mom like, you know, I'm the third of three, so you can imagine I'm the cheeky boy. So like, come on, mama. I mean, how am I going to be able to go out? She said, exactly. You must not be able to go out. I'm like, Mom, come on. She said, I can see you don't understand. I didn't say convert every door in your house. I said convert every door in your home. So now I'm taking it more seriously. And I'm thinking, what's the difference? And my mom's a geologist, so she's able to explain things. She said, houses are built with cement, sand, and water, but homes are built with love, peace, and joy. And I remember that thing blew my mind so much. A few years ago, I put out a tweet Sunday because it just occurred to me that there are many homeless people living in big mansions. The houses are big, but they don't have any home in it, right? Because homes are really based on love, peace, and joy. And we are very intentional about making sure that our home, the love, the peace, and the joy is protected in our home. And that's one of the things that I wish that we had known it, you know, a little earlier. It helped because my mom said it before we got married. But again, sometimes you hear the things, and then when you get into marriage is when it really then drives in.
Okay, so you know, I think that we wished, one of the things we wished that we knew was that, you know, intentionality would be so important, and that both parties must be committed to staying happily married. We also, one of the things that we have come to realize is that the journey of marriage is a journey of trade-offs, of sacrifice.
Oh, absolutely.
Trade-offs and sacrifice. And I remember when, you know, when we're younger and we have conversations with the older women or whatever, they say, you have to be patient, you have to be patient. And the conversation was about women being patient, right? But not necessarily men being patient as well. And like I said earlier, I had a counseling session earlier on today, and I began to talk about some of the things that I did personally, that Fela had to become patient in allowing me to become, sometimes change, evolve. In some cases, maybe I'll never change, right? One of them was, I had this habit of always saying, my this, my that, my business, my money, my, you know, there was always this my thing, my. And what I found is that women who have the tendency of saying my, or even a man, if he does that, there's a sense that the woman or man or your spouse becomes, then it becomes a trust issue. It triggers a sense that what is yours, and that we're not a team. And every time the other party doesn't feel like a member of a team, they feel exposed. They feel like they're on the journey by themselves, and certain decisions that they will then take is because they feel like we are not one, right? And sometimes women or men don't understand that it's what they've done that has created that. And so Fela used to say to me, you know, this my that you say, right? You have to stop saying it, but I didn't get it. And then even within my company, I used to say my company. And one day he said to me, you know, there'll be a sense that people won't have a sense of belonging and ownership every time you keep doing this, my business. And when I began to, I first of all first change in the workplace. Then I realized the impact it had on the team and how there became a stronger sense of ownership within the company when I changed my language from I to we. Fela taught me that at home, but he was talking about us in our marriage. I took it to the office. I learned it in the office, but it took me a while again to convert that to the house. And so with Fela, it was more like, okay, what is yours, what is mine is ours, okay? And it didn't change. For him, it wasn't that I'm not going to change because of you, right? I'm still going to do what I'm doing. And then I came round. But that changing took a while. And that's where patience comes in. And that's a man being patient here. And that's a man sacrificing his own comforts, right? I think about Fela on the other hand, who, you know, he's extremely, he's a planner, extremely organized. I'm extremely spontaneous. It's like day and night, okay? You should see us when we are traveling on a trip, right? It's like maniac. So Fela would never plan to do anything on the day he's traveling because he knows he's traveling. There's no point in having multiple meetings on a day you know you are traveling, right? And then when you know you're traveling at 8 o'clock, you get to the airport at 4 o'clock.
Because I don't like traffic.
Right? Because I don't like traffic, right? And but we are traveling together, okay? But then my wife knows we are traveling. She decides she's going to the office. Then she decides she's going to have multiple meetings.
And then she arrives. So here it is. I've arrived at the airport with my kids at 5 o'clock. We are checked in, but they can't really check us in because there's one last ticket. There's one person that needs to show up. And the lady is coming in just as they're about to close the counter and they're saying, sir, Mr. Durotoye, please, is your wife? Where's your wife? This is the person that came first before everybody. But before, it would have led to 2 days of me just shutting down and just saying, I don't get it. I don't understand. But that's 2 days out of our vacation. So, you know what we decided? We decided that we will not get angry under any reason
circumstance
for this trip.
Yes.
So you know what? I Coco know that you are likely to come late. So I talk to the driver. I talk to the PA. I say, make sure, shut down that thing for me. If I leave it to her, she's going to keep going. So I create the way that it will happen. And even guess what? Even if she comes late, hey baby, that's it. I have to give up. So this is the point I want to make about this. Is this issue about the joy of sacrifice. Until we get 2 things, I call them the joy of sacrifice and the dignity of service, you will not get the honor that comes and the joy that comes in marriage, because you will, as long as your sacrifice is causing you pain. And let's be clear. Pastor Kingsley said something. I told you I warned you I was going to be saying Pastor Kingsley said. Everything is about interpretation. Everything is about mental programming. Today, it is my joy to serve my wife, I'm looking for every way to get her water, to get her this, to get her that. I want to do it because I have found...
Please clap for FD, clap for FD.
Because I have found the dignity of service. And that dignity has brought me honor in my home. I want you to please understand, service is not the same thing as servant in the way that we know it. Service is leadership. That was what Jesus taught. That we must to lead, we must be willing to serve, but not servant the way the world has taught us, that if you are the servant, you are the mumu, you are the this, you are the that. And so Jesus said, I came to you as a leader to serve you. And then we were told, husband, love your wife the way Christ loved. So the only way that we remember that Christ loved was he served.
And
so you must have the dignity. Service you must serve with swag. You must serve with confidence, with not arrogance, but confidence. You must know that you're doing the right thing. And more importantly, your children, therefore, will see when you have the confidence and the dignity of service, they will not think that anything is beneath them.
So 2 things I wanted to add. I think that we underestimate the importance of being true Christians, Christ-like in marriage. So the couple I spoke to earlier on, they said they've been they've been sending text messages to each other all week. So I said, oh, are you in the same house? Said yes. As in you live together? Say yes. I said, okay, that's interesting. Are you a Christian? And I was asking this question. I know that they're Christian. I said, you're a Christian? He says, yes, he's a Christian. I said, oh, is your wife a Christian? He said, yes, she's a Christian. I said, okay, are you Holy Spirit filled? He said, yes. I said, okay, interesting. Is your wife Holy Spirit filled? He said, yes. I said, okay, if we are Christians, then what does the Bible say about not talking to each other? What does the Bible say? And one of the things we found out is that we call ourselves Christians, but when it comes to our spouses, and it comes to a place where we have to make a decision to act to our spouses, we throw our Christianity aside.
Mm.
And it's almost like our Christianity. And I remember Mrs. Adijum was saying, marriage can take somebody to hell, right? And it's almost because I can hold my husband in offense. There can be strife in my home and it's fine. And I've forgotten that the gifts of the Holy Spirit need to be manifested. The fruit of the Spirit needs to be manifested in my home. The lastly, I said to him, I said, when the Lord asked us to come together one of the things he wanted from us was for us to procreate godly seeds on the earth. Godly seeds on the earth. And you see what's happening with Islam. We see so many people having multiple marriages and having multiple children and teaching them the discipline of their religion. And what they're doing is propagating their religion. But guess what? We are diluting ours because the example that we teach I said to him, what's happening to me today is that there's a lot of counseling I'm doing for second generation Christians. What I mean by second generation Christians, these are children of born again Christians, right? Who gave their lives to Christ 20 years ago, 23, 24 years ago.
The kids grew up in homes
that are Christian homes, right? And they went to church and they saw their parents speak in tongues, and today they are revolting against the church. And I said, guess where the children, that revolting, where it came from? It came from the experience of seeing their parents say one thing with their mouth and act differently. And I said, if you're in marriage and your children know that they can take advantage of your malice-keeping seasons and manipulate you, then what are you telling them about the church, the family altar? What are you teaching them about the Bible? It is hypocrisy. And that's why they're revolting, because they're saying the word does not work. Unfortunately, the expectation that God has of you is that you raise a godly seed on the earth. So let's remember that we have to be good Christians to our spouses. Remember, my husband always says, your wife is also a daughter of God. It's also a son of God. It's also a daughter of God. And the way you're treating her, ask yourself, am I treating this person who's a child of God properly?
Listen, the truth about it is that I don't know what it's like to be Jared Kushner, but I can tell you that I am sure that if you do anything to Donald Trump's daughter, whether you are Jared Kushner or anybody, he's going to take you down. And so then you have the daughter of the Most High. And you know, it took me a while. I mean, when I started to call, when I pray concerning anything that concerns Tara, I never say my wife. I say your daughter. That's how I talk to God about. So anytime she has something that she asks me for, I know that thing is going to happen for a simple reason. Because I'm going to ask her dad, who also happens to be my dad, right? And I'm going to say, your daughter says she wants this, and you know you can trust me with it. Give me this thing, I'll give it to her. And that's one of the things. But one of the last things I wanted to quickly drop was I think that we underestimated, as a man, I underestimated the fact that I had to earn respect, that it did not come with the title called husbands. That even though, you know, it was advised that wives submit to your husband and all of that, that it's not a gift. It has to be earned on my side. And I think that many men are going through marriage thinking that the fact that I'm the guy means my wife must respect me or that my children must admire me. No. Admiration and respect. Look, you can drive fear into your home because you're a man, but you can't drive admiration or respect into your wife or your children. You can only bring it out of them. You can't force them to admire you. You can't force them to respect you. You can force them to fear you, but you can't force them to admire you. And for me, I think that was one of the things that I learned, thankfully, quickly in marriage, but I wish that I had known it a lot earlier, right? In which case I realized that, you know, I'm not expecting my wife to do it. I'm going to do what will naturally make her respect and admire me.
To respond to that, I think that what I'm seeing today is a heightened case of disrespect, right? Women are disrespecting their husbands. And I think many a times it's because of success. In some cases, maybe not just that. It's the feminist movement. It's sometimes in other cases, it's upbringing. If you're sometimes raised by a woman who was rude to her dad and to her husband becomes a cycle. And I'm saying that women, you need to understand that as you grow, whether in your career and you become more empowered, there's a tendency for you to become less respectful. And what I wish I knew was it will happen to me. It could happen to me. And that I needed to put structures in place to ensure that did not happen. And I'm saying, and this is what I'm saying a lot of men who are coming around and saying, you know, my wife doesn't respect me. My wife speaks rudely to me. And there are some cases where the men are actually not, they're not men that you
doing
should
badly.
No, they're nice guys,
not badly behaved
behave,
guys.
right? But the girls, something has gone wrong where the girls are just mouthy. They say certain words to their husbands, and they create a sense in the home where the man almost feels like, I can't be respected in my house. And you know, there's always a saying that men don't want to be loved, they want to be respected, and women want to be loved. And so what I know for a fact today is that respect is so important, and from a woman's standpoint to her man, as well as vice versa.
And I think that it's still up to us men to, you know, firmly but gently, you know, make sure that you do not accept disrespect, especially when you know that you have not done anything to deserve it. So you must ensure that when your wife wants to try you, because everything starts as seed, you know, so before it becomes a tree that is bearing fruit, you know, nurture it quickly and say, don't
try for that route way.
Don't do that. My wife will always say, just don't try him. Right, and we've learned to create beautiful boundaries, and I think there's something that recently went a bit, you know, viral, where we were saying Tara and I we used our time of peace really to just discuss the things that will help us to quickly put down the fire of war, you know, when that flame begins to burn, you know, and we just quickly say, because you know, we have protocols around things like, what happens if I get angry? We have always said, whoever gets angry in our home has the right to anger that day.
Yes.
Therefore,
nobody
the other
else
person cannot be angry at the same time, and one person cannot be angry for long. So that means that quickly, whatever it is that seems to trip the other one, what we have said to do is don't deal with the issue, deal with the person. So if Tara is upset, I'm not going to try to justify why I did or what it is. I'm not trying to, no, I'm just saying, baby, don't be upset. And then when I am upset, she does the same thing, right? And thankfully, God has even now dealt with, you know, before I used to be one of those people that would be upset for a while, right? And then as God dealt with me well. So when I'm upset, little like this, my ears will ring for a few days. So now, the moment I don't start getting upset, she'll say to me, do you want your ears to ring? I say no. Bam, end of. So we found ways to keep love, peace, and joy. It's not really, we're working at it. And let me say one last thing before we go so that we can now have a few questions. To a large extent, you will either work it out or you will walk out of it. The only reason why people walk out of marriage is because they're not willing to do the work. They're not willing to do what it takes to work it out. And listen, marriage takes work, not walk. Don't walk out of your marriage. Work on it. Okay? And that's the last thing I'll just like to say.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Let me, on behalf of everyone, give a round of applause. And I'm sure that you probably were following the comments in the chat section and just people responding, you know, you were scattering heads, if I put it that way, just touching on very important points.
I
think one of the things, I think you were both shaking tables. And one of the things that people testified about is your realness and just laying it bare. And for that, I want to say thank you. Marriage is you work and not walk. That is profound. Thank you so much for that. And just a few things. And by the way, if you have questions, you can put in the chat box, or like I mentioned, If you want to send it privately, we'll read it. We will treat as anonymous. Send to a beautiful life. Don't forget, be real. They've been real with us this evening. Ask your questions with your full chest. Don't try and say, what if, say it, this, and say it anonymously, because that's what we're here for. We're here to learn. We're here to glean from the wisdom of the experiences of our guests. So I think important point is that you must be willing to put in the work that is required. Intentionality is critical. It's key. Value of sacrifice. Serving with joy. That was so deep. And then I think one of the best parts for me, and I'm sure a number of people, was the fact that we have to remember to be Christians to our spouses, because we find it easy to forgive and not keep malice with outside, because we know that malice is bad. But we always, in fact, yesterday I actually justified malice in marriage. I thought, I think it's even good. There's a separation. There's Christian malice and there's marriage malice. And the latter is understandable. So just understanding that, the same rules apply in and out of marriage is so important. And then you touched on submission and feminism. And I hope that, I do believe we might get questions on that, because that's a big topic at the moment. And I love what you talked about, God helping you with a ringing in your ear, that when you're willing, when God sees that you actually want to do something, he helps you. The Holy Spirit helps you when you're actually genuinely willing. So let's go to the questions. Right. So Tara, you talked about structures to put in place to ensure, or that you had to understand the importance of respecting your husband despite or with success. And we know that you're a very successful woman. You've built the house of Tara, and we also obviously see the respect that you have for your husband. What are the structures you put in place to ensure that you respect your husband?
So one of them is that I don't call my husband by name.
Yeah.
So and the
she's
reason,
never called me Fela before.
No. And
it's interesting. I didn't realize it until this moment.
Right, I don't call him by name. And everybody's different. So in my own home, how I was raised, we were raised to show respect by calling people certain names. So for example, all the aunties who lived with us were not called by their names. They were always called auntie, whatever, sister, and what have you. And this is how I was raised. So the names I called them determined how I treated them, how I spoke to them, how I responded to them when they spoke to me. And so I brought that into my marriage. And from day one, okay, do you want to send one a text or something? Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So I decided to, I never call it my name, and that's because, so you have to find what it is that works for you, right? In terms of your upbringing, what are the checks that you can put in place that lets you know? That's what number one. Number two, I had a meeting with my siblings, and I said to my siblings that I didn't want them to call him by name either, right? By putting that out there in the space, forced me also to remember that I've already made a point that all you, my siblings, you have to respect this guy, right? I don't want you to call him by name. I don't want you to treat him like as if he's your mate. So even within my home, I was already, my parents' house, I was already speaking these words into the atmosphere, okay? Then in marriage, every single day, every time we have a situation where Fela is upset, I never raise my voice. I decided I would never raise my voice. I would never use words like you are stupid, you are foolish. Till today, 19 years after, I have never used an abusive word on Fela, never. And these are things that I decided to do on my own as a way of putting things in place. Secondly, I seek advice. So for example, my PA, I've always had a PA. I mean, from when we got married, I always had a PA. And I'll say to my PA, if I'm traveling, and I tell you I'm traveling, book a flight. I want you to, your first response to me is, does FD know? So I've trained the PA to say that to me. So in the event that I'm like, oh, I'm traveling, by her asking me, it makes me remember that if I haven't discussed it with my husband, I should discuss it with my husband as a way of showing respect to him. So those are some of the things that I put in place. All of us have to create what those boundaries are for us. That will trigger us, that will remind us of putting these things in check. And respect is also important across board, husband to wife, wife to husband. I hope that's helpful.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. That's more than helpful. Thank you for sharing your tips. And I thank you for also highlighting the fact that for each person, you need to work out what works for you and your relationship. But we can also, of course, learn and borrow from some of the things you've mentioned. Thank you. Right. I'm still, while I wait for others to send in their questions and comments, I know that we're digesting what has been said. But I need to ask this question, and I think it'll be to both of you. Going back to the question on submission and feminism. So I'll do it cross because you spoke about it already. For FD, what's your take on feminism and feminists? To be fair, I mean, when I see a woman like Tara with the House of Tara, I would definitely say that she's a feminist and she's, women's rights, supporting women. What do husbands, let me put it that way, or you as a husband, what's your feeling about it? And then for Tara, what's your feeling about submission? A number of people have talked about submission. It's such an ugly word now in today's world. You almost don't want to say it in public because they would have your head. But what would you say about submission as a wife?
Okay, so if feminism is truly as you defined it, which I think it is, around women's rights and supporting women, then I am sure that I am the number one feminist of all global, because before I ever heard anything about feminism or any of those things, I always knew that that a man's role in his wife's life is to help her be the best that she can be. And you cannot grow and kill at the same time. So if you don't believe in the person and the right for her to be, then you can't truly be, you can't have the kind of heart that I had. I remember, once there was somebody who I respected a lot when we were when we were getting married, and by this time, Tara and I dated for about 1.5 years, right? And when I met her, she was this young girl just starting out the business. She had done 7 brides. By the time we got married 1.5 years later, she had done over 100 brides. But here I was working in Philips Consulting. I had all these consulting ideas, and I felt like this was my best client, right? This was the person I could pump all the consulting thoughts, ideas, structure, whatever it is to help her. And so one day, this respected person of mine, calls me and says, you are going to get married. Now you are going to get married. Congratulations. I want you to make sure you kill her business. And I first looked so confused, and I was like, Auntie, how? Why did you say that? She said, I can tell you, if it wasn't for the fact that I had no money, I would have left your uncle a long time ago. I was like, what? And that was a shock to me. But the bottom line was, I said to her, first of all, Auntie, what you are seeing today is what we've been working on. I've been working on what you are seeing now. So how can I kill the result of the effort that I am putting in to help her become everything that she can be? The second thing I said to her, I said, Auntie, obviously also you don't know how great I am going, and I said, my vision is so great that it will accommodate anybody's success. There is no success Tara wants to have that will not be accommodated under the great vision, because I have the desire to help her become. So the first most important thing that I would say is, listen, I wish that there were more men who understood that the role of men is to help women become and to be all they can be. Therefore, nobody will be trying to suppress the women, and women will have to be fighting their way out. God gave Tara and I, and he didn't say I was 3/4, she was 1/4. He said the two shall become one. For me, that meant 2 parts will become one. I cannot subdue her and expect to have a whole marriage. I can't subdue her. Both of us must come together, be all that we can be for us to have a whole marriage. So that's why I am who I am. And I believe that I don't have daughters, unfortunately. Tara, I didn't give Tara the female seed to give to me. In fact, I always tell a joke around how one day she had asked me if I wanted to try, after 3 boys, wanted to try for a daughter. And I said to her, once is an occurrence, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. I don't have girls. If I have girls, I'll give you, but I don't have. but I plan to be the best father-in-law that the world has ever seen. And my daughters-in-law are going to be fully empowered. And I have groomed the boys that will make sure that that happens. I've shown the right example to them. I discuss the example as I'm showing them. And when I'm helping their mom to do, I showed them, I say, this is what, and I always say to them, this is what I expect you to do for my daughter-in-law. And I want them, if you don't do it, I will deal with you. So I'm not only trying to help Tara become, I'm also raising the next generation of men who will, help their women, support their women, trust in the right of women. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so obviously, when we check the word feminism, really, it's just, what it really means is anyone who's a feminist is someone who believes in the equal rights of women.
Absolutely.
And using that word, based on that definition, we are feminists, okay? But there's also an extreme part, and that happens with everything, right? Where there's extreme perspectives, extremism in everything, extreme Christianity, extreme Islam, there's always the extreme. And sometimes in that extremity, it becomes, something that people don't want to relate with. So for me, submission, I'm a Christian. And so I will go back to the Bible, right? And I always tell people that my faith is a significant part of who I am as a person, and it shapes it's my compass, okay, on the things that I do. At the end of the day, right? What is submission based on God's word? To submit is there is a mission, and you are sub to that mission. And so in my general outlook, I consider my husband, as the Bible says, to be the head of the family. And I do not care what modern day movements are saying about that. I am first and foremost a Christian. And because I'm a Christian, I base my compass on God, on the Bible. And what does the Bible say? The Bible says that in a marriage, there is a head of that family. And the head of the family is the husband. In this case, I am the wife. Fela Durotoye is the husband. And so I have to ask him what his mission is, okay? So Fela has this dream, he has this vision of how our family should be, what he calls the Fela Durotoye. He has a set of values. I don't like to use that word.
Fela Durotoye dynasty.
But I don't like to use that word, right? We're still talking about that word.
Submit to that word.
Okay,
Submit.
okay, right? And so, but I've decided, and he has the set of values, right, that he believes he wants us to adopt, okay? My responsibility is to submit to that mission. And it also shapes many things, like, for example, my husband says that he wants to run for office. I don't feel that that's what he should do, but because that is what he wants to do, and that's what he feels he's called to do, I take the time to ask God for grace. First of all, to ask God, what do you think? And God says, this is what I want him to do, number one. Number two, what did God ask me to do? He said, I don't want you to just support him. I want you to agree with him. So that is a case of submission, going under someone's mission. And for me, someone who runs an organization, you can't have two CEOs. You can only have a CEO and a COO. And in organizational design, there's always the head, even in organizational design. And it's the same thing that's applicable in our home. Otherwise, there's no structure, there are no reporting lines, we get into a crisis. And so as long as there are reporting lines present in every family, ours is, Fela Durotoye is the head of the family, and I'm here to submit to it.
I just want to quickly add to this that, in a way, whilst the woman's responsibility is to, sub under the mission, you better have a mission worthy of subbing to, right? Every man should have a mission that is laudable enough, that is good enough, that is more than just whether what we will eat, what we will drink. You need to have a mission that will, in a way, make not only your home or your family a better, part of a greater society, but you need to create a greater society that the next generation will be able to operate in. And so when you have a mission that is worthy of subbing to, it's easier for your wife to submit to that mission. But I think that men should not take it as because only God has said to the women, submit to your husbands, then you are going to be quoting that God. No, you should never have to quote to God, to her, that God told you to submit. You should you should up your game so that you can become somebody that she can submit to, and then she can hear from God. And these are some of the conversations that we usually have on a platform called the Locker Room for Men, where we are actually, constantly, we're getting guys together. And I mean, I know the women are always having their own meetings, but guys usually don't want to come into a place because sometimes with all their egos and all the things. So we have created a platform where men can come in and be safe with each other, and we can advise each other, we can talk to each other, and we can reshape our own thinking. And more importantly, we can become better men, better husbands, better lovers, better fathers. And that is something that we're doing. And I thought that I would just drop it in there, that we have the Locker Room for Men. It's been something we started 2 months ago, I think in the month of July, and then in the month of August, and then in the month of September, we started in June on Father's Day, and then July, and now in August, on the 16th of August, which is next week, Sunday, the men are coming together again, and this time we're having a very special edition where we're having, for about 2 hours within our private conversations, we're inviting a panel of women to come, and Tara is going to be moderating that panel. And so please, if any of you want to be a part of Locker Room, everybody should be, at least for those of you that are men, only for men, it's www.feladurotoye.net/lockerroom, www.feladurotoye.net/lockerroom, feladurotoye.net/lockerroom. Please, let's have all the men come in and let's share ideas and.
So if you have brothers, make sure that you get them to sign up. If your husbands, get them to sign up. Your friends, colleagues in the office that are men, get them to sign up. It is always an exciting time. We've had over 500 men participate on the program. So we look forward to seeing more men this time. Thank you.
And I always like to say, please, ladies, as you're getting your husbands to sign up, make sure that their best friend, the man that is their best friend, is signing up. Because it's your husband's best friend that has his ear time most of the time. So if you can feel his heart with the right things, out of the abundance of his heart, his mouth will speak the right things to your husband's ears. And so please influence the greatest influencer in your husband's life, and that will probably be worth your time. It will be a great investment.
Thank you very much for having us.
Fantastic. Oh, wait, not yet done.
Okay.
Not yet done. So we have a truckload of questions sent privately. That's probably why you can't see it. We have a I'm going to ask a number of questions.
We thought that people weren't asking questions today.
Oh, I have loads coming through, especially privately. So I'm going to ask a series of questions at once, if that's okay. By the way, if you're just tuning in, this is A Beautiful Life, ABL by Kenny. And you would see in the chat section how you can follow us on Instagram and interact with us through our website. Please spell that's at A Beautiful Life by Kenny and www.abeutiful.lifebykenny.com. And of course, what FD has talked about with regards to the Locker Room, get all your men attending. It's really, we keep saying, oh, there's so many events for women. We are the ones for men. Well, here you are. Please, or here you go. Please make sure you take advantage of this. All right, let's go now. So a few questions. I'm going to start with this one, which I think you've already... Okay, let me start with this one. And being a busy woman, have there been things that you wished your husband knew or understood and didn't know how to express to him without causing a misunderstanding? For instance, how you have to accommodate work and childcare because he may have felt you needed to be more at home at certain times, but didn't know how to tell him your work was also important. How do you successfully pass the message to him that you have to delegate what he feels you shouldn't delegate in the home front without offending him? I think, Tara, that's for you. Is that clear? Is that all right? I'm going to ask more questions. Sorry, I just want to make sure that you understand. All right.
I'm not sure. Okay. So are there things? So basically, my husband wants me to do certain things.
Yeah.
And he feels that these things are important, but I also feel that I want to delegate what he has asked me to do.
Yes.
Because I have other things to do.
Other responsibilities,
Other responsibilities, and I feel I can delegate. Like, for example, cooking. My husband wants me to cook a particular maybe because he wants my own
fresh food
all the time. And then, so I can't use that example because that didn't happen to me. However, when she started the question, it was, is there anything that you wish your husband knew, right? And you couldn't communicate yes.
Yes.
And
so just hold that thought. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
Just hold that thought because I want to ask a few questions. So communication, how to communicate and express yourself without feeling or making him feel like you're disrespecting him or dishonoring him for a request is made, if I can summarize it that way. And then we have that. Thank you for this session. What advice, oh, this is a good one. What advice can FD give on meeting responsible and intentional men that have listened and learned from men like him? So we want to find out the ocean from which men like you are drinking from, or which club or society we can find them, for a number of single women on there.
The locker room. Any man that has not gone to the locker room, don't trust them yet. Tell them to go to the locker room first and then come back. Let them go come for some washing, mind washing.
And then testify. All right, so I have another question. Please, can you elaborate on respect having to be earned by a husband and not by default? What exactly is the line to be drawn between a woman having a voice in a marriage and standing up to it and being disrespectful to her husband? So how can you be assertive in a marriage without being disrespectful? And then another one, do you seek advice from people outside of your marriage? How do you deal with in-laws who may have a negative opinion about your partner? And then I think the last one that was important to someone, you've already responded with regards to respect, emphasizing on, you put an emphasis on women respecting men. So they also wanted you to please just shed more light on men also respecting their wives as well.
Okay. All right. So let me see you start.
Yeah. So
Maybe wish I knew.
Yeah, she said it the same way.
So how do you communicate how you're feeling?
How do you communicate without being disrespectful?
Being disrespectful? Yes.
So first of all, no emotions, right? Don't speak when you are angry with him, and also don't speak when he's angry. I think that I would start by being seen to be responding to what he has asked me to do, even if it's just being seen, okay? And he can then see, and later on I can engage. I heard an elderly woman in her 80s saying there's something called feminine diplomacy. And it's a skill that a lot of us don't have, which is emotional intelligence in modern day English, okay? Is how do I communicate assertively without being aggressive? And it's a skill that we all have to learn. Number one, depart from emotion. Don't let your conversation be heated with anger, hurt, and what have you. Look at it from a perspective of, if my husband wants me to do this thing, right? Let's say cooking, for example. Don't see it like, oh, he just wants to trap me. But see it as, this man actually enjoys my food, okay? If you have that behind your mind, then how you speak to him, whether your voice is raised, and if your voice is raised is disrespect. The language that you use is disrespect. So I would ask that you are not angry when you speak to him. When he's not angry is not when he's angry is not when you also speak to him. I think you should first of all take a step to what he has asked you to do, start to do it, and then as you're doing it, you can now say to him, this and this and this and this. And a good time to have some of those conversations is not long after you've had a good sex, right?
That's a beautiful time.
Yes, that's a good time, right? So he's happy and satisfied, and you guys are just chatting about stuff. It may be a good time to throw that in, and you'll be surprised what he would say. I think you can go ahead and not do this any longer.
All right. Okay, so I hope that I didn't get to hear what you said. You wish I knew that in the business or around the business that you wish I knew.
About which business?
So the first question was around, are there things you wish that your husband knew
about,
but that you have not been able to tell him?
About my own business?
Yeah. So that was
that
the question.
He wish he knew.
Okay, don't worry about it. We'll come back to it.
I think you were going to answer that. I think, because thank you so much. It's an important part. That you wish your husband knew or understood and didn't know how to express it to him without causing a misunderstanding. So
yes,
what were the
Yes, so of course. So in terms of running a business, my husband can say, oh, I think you should do this, right? And there were many things. So he can say,
I'm a consultant, right?
Yes. And how do you do it without seeming to be disrespectful? Listen, say, oh, amazing, fantastic, but you don't have to do it. Because at the end of the day, and this is how has happened to us, at the end of the day, you're the one who is going to be at the forefront of this, right? So if you're not passionate about, so my husband will say, oh, I think you should do this, but I'm not passionate about the thing. Then you're not telling me to do it. And then I'm not passionate. And we need passion, right? To be able to drive whatever it is that we're driving. So I could say, oh, fantastic, wonderful, amazing, excellent. I can even attempt to be acting like the thing is about to happen. And at some point, I realize the thing is not working. I can now silently say, this thing is too hard, though. This thing is too difficult to, this thing is difficult, but I'm not doing it. But I will not say I'm not doing it. It's also how I say it.
Yeah.
So
and I've had to learn how to not take offense when my wife is not able to run with an idea that I have. You know, when you're a successful, highly, reputed consultant on the board of this and on the board of that, your words are treated like the words of Solomon. When you now give it to your wife and she wants to play with it, your first instinct is
she's not playing with it. She's not playing with it. Look at this. Just not passionate about it.
Look at this totally. I mean, do you know that if you know how much people are paying me for me to sit with them for 1 hour? But you know what I found out is that one day that I was feeling that thing, I heard the Spirit of God say to me, that is the beginning of pride, because to a large extent you are beginning to take responsibility, ownership, not responsibility, you are beginning to take ownership of the ideas that I am giving to you.
But you did not feel disrespected.
No, I didn't feel disrespected.
So her concern is that did you how Tara, how were you able to do it in such a way that you did not feel disrespected?
But the other interesting one though, the other interesting one that happens is sometimes then you tell Tara to do something and it doesn't happen. Then maybe 6 weeks later, she has this brilliant idea and she comes to share it with me. That Fela, or brother, she calls me brother and she calls me sugar. She used to call me brother before, now she calls me sugar. And then she says to me, sugar, do you know that? And I'm thinking, hello,
I told you that.
6 weeks ago I spoke to you about this
6
thing.
years ago.
And now all of a sudden, but you know what happened? One day I took the thing to God in prayer because I didn't want to be offended. And I felt like an offense was coming. And I go and talk to her dad about it. And you know what he said to me? He said, have you forgotten seed, time, and harvest? That your words are seed. That sometimes you will sow it and it will take a while for it to become hers before it can grow. It is not the owner of the seed that produces the tree. It is the land that produces the tree. So when you plant the seed in the land, you must give it time for the land to own the seed, so that the seed can grow into a tree that bears fruit. What is happening is when you say it, drop it and leave it. Don't take anything to heart. And then when she brings it forth, let it be her that will take it, and that's one of the things that has happened for us, so which leads me to the last thing around, look, you know what I found out? Tara and I have found one secret that works in our marriage, and that is the fact that God is the head of our home, right? At least that's how I know it. I am married. There are 3 of us in this marriage. There's me, Tara, and God, and I am not the head of God. God is the head of me and Tara. That's right. And so generally, if I try to get something done and I'm having problems with it, we have a code word. It's called escalate. And once we escalate, it means just go and talk to God about it. And God said to me one day, she's my daughter. Leave it, I will talk to her. So I left it, and lo and behold, she came around. Sometimes when I want something, you guys know what I'm talking about. When I want something and I'm trying to make it happen, and she's not responding the way I do it, I'll just tell the Holy Spirit, please, can you please help me? I mean, can we just intervene in this matter, just escalate? Next thing, my wife would just, so it's what I'm just saying is, that let's not just be Christians, but let God have a true place as the head of the home. Try to impress God as much as you're trying to impress, in fact, more than you're trying to impress your wife. And then you'll find out that in trying to impress God, your wife will be fine. This is what it is, I can say.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. We'll just have one more to round off because I mentioned that I'll just look at, because our time is passing. In-laws, yes.
In-laws.
Yes, in-laws. How to handle with your hip.
I'll let Tara. But first and foremost, our home has been pretty much protected from external information.
I can tell you why it was protected. And with relationships, you have to set boundaries. Like Fela said, even in our marriage, we set boundaries. He said it he said, I will not take disrespect from my wife, right? And I did it early enough so that she will know that it's not allowed for you to speak to me in disrespectful manner, okay? And with all relationships, you have to set boundaries so that people, you know, as they say, as you lay your bed, is how they rely on it for you, right? Maybe when we started dating, something happened with my sister-in-law and I, and Fela immediately called her and said, never, ever try. My sister-in-law is older than Fela, so obviously you can imagine, and I'm 6 years younger than Fela. And he basically just told her, don't go there on this matter, okay? My mother-in-law came to visit once, and when she came to visit, she was complaining about something that my son was doing. And she
that we wore him a chain.
I don't remember what it was.
That one was one.
Yes.
And then the other one had to do with the one dining table in a place that she thought.
So she now said, she said to him that move this thing or whatever, and he didn't respond, right? Then she came to me and told me. And of course, I went back to Fela to tell him that, this is what she said. He went to her and said, don't put her in this kind of situation again, blah, blah, blah. So my mother-in-law kind of felt that, and my sister-in-law now realized that, this one is untouchable in a sense. But that was very early on in the relationship. And I think that if many young people who are getting married need to do that, whether it's, for example, I telling my younger ones not to disrespect him, that's a boundary. And Fela telling his older sister and his mom that, you know, there are certain ways that you cannot treat this person. Those are boundaries that we put in place, and that has helped us on that journey. And of course,
and I did it respectfully. You know, I told my mom very respectfully, but again assertively. You know, one of the things I told my mom was, I said to her, I said, do you remember how you used to say to me every time I wanted you to do something, you say, when you get to your own house, go and do that? And she said, yes. I said, Mom, I'm in my own house now. Guess what? I'm here. This is it. This is what you've been asking for. I'm in my house, so let us be. And because I said it like that, she now beat and said, but she never did it again. So even in setting boundaries, it doesn't have to be fights. You just have to be firm and assertive and respectful as you put it down, so that they don't turn her into an enemy. When you fight your in-laws to protect your wife, they can't do anything with you, but they can attack her. So you got to be, you yourself have to be tactful in the way that you protect her, and let everybody know that, you know, this is what it is.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you so much for such an amazing session. Such an amazing, wisdomful, there's a word like wisdom, wise, you know, full of wisdom session. Thank you. And I'm sure from the comment section, you see just how well your message has resonated with the listeners. As someone, KG just said, it's been life-changing, and I do agree. It's truly been life-changing. And in usual fashion, the comment section, can we please just give them a round of applause and just really appreciate the Durotoyes for
thank you,
speaking to us and really
you.
sharing from the depths of their hearts and being very open with their sharing. Thank you on behalf of A Beautiful Life.
So let all the men join us in the locker room.
Yes. And please, can you send a list of the attendees so that women can know where to start searching and looking, or where to start looking at? Well, thank you so much to the Durotoyes. Really, really grateful. On behalf of Mrs. Wani and of course ABL, I want to say a big thank you. And on behalf of all those who are listening and watching, thank you very much indeed. And may God continue to bless your marriage. All right. The final one before I invite Aya to just let us know about ABL's next activities. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and all social media platforms at A Beautiful Life by Kenny on Instagram. Visit the website www.abeutifullifebykenny.com. Aya would speak to us very shortly. But before then, someone had asked a question around intertribal marriage, and he wanted Mrs. Wani to please weigh in on this. The person asked, what's your advice for a relationship where the two people are from different tribes and the parents of one don't want the relationship to continue because of tribal differences? Once, after Mrs. Wani responds to that question, we will then take next activities, vote of thanks, and closing prayer. So we are almost close to the end. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's seminar. Thank you.
That's a big one. What are my thoughts? Um, First of all, I would say it's first of all about the couple, about the two people. Um, I think you see the person before you see the tribe. So in my own case, I saw my husband, you know, his name is Andy. So initially, I didn't even know he was an Igbo man. But I saw someone I really liked, and later on I found out he was Igbo. And so first of all is meeting that person and seeing that person before, you know, the tribe thing comes. Now, I think it's very important to get your family on board. I remember on my side, it was a little bit difficult for my dad because I remember my dad saying something. I think one of my siblings must have told him that I was going out with an Igbo man. So I remember my dad calling me to say, you know what, I had a dream. It wasn't a dream at all. Somebody had told him that you are dating an Igbo man. And before that, my dad used to say, my dad was quite very well educated, but quite tribalistic. He used to say, even Ijebu people in Ogun State, we couldn't marry. So he said, you know what? You can actually now even marry an Ijebu person, it's fine. But I had a dream that you were going to go outside the Yoruba tribe. You know, he just expressed his misgivings and all that. But so for me, I wasn't even a born again Christian then. I was a Christian, but wasn't born again. But I feel I knew what I wanted. I knew that communicating with my dad, explaining how I felt, you know, and all that. So I had a chat. So what I would say is, first of all, be sure of your relationship, your feelings for this person. You know, you really, really like the person. Go to the Lord. Now I'm sure that even if you're a Christian, go to God to talk to your parents and, you know, to speak to them on both sides and approach and let them know, because you are the one that would live with this person. You are the one that would be married to this person. They can't really dictate to you what they feel is best for you. You know what is best for you. So I feel it's all about communication, talking to them, you know, letting them understand, you know, the love you have for this person. And parental consent is very important. So to be honest, I say to people that even in law, parental consent is important. How much more concerning spiritual things? So it's important that you, as much as possible, please get your parents buy-in on both sides. And if you're a Christian, go to the Lord. You know, there's nothing that the prayer cannot do, you know, but also be very, let them understand. And I know God will make a way. So that's all I can say. In my case, my dad came around. The first thing my husband did, he speaks very good Yoruba. He grew up, you know, in the West. So the first thing he did was he prostrated and greeted my dad. So my dad realized that this one is a Yoruba Igbo man. So it was a bit easy, you know, thereafter to convince him. So I think just know what you want. Prayerfully talk to your parents. Let them understand that this is the person you want to get married to. And I'm sure God will make a way and soften their hearts. That's what I would say. I hope I answered that.
Thank you. Yes, you did. Thank you, and for also sharing your personal experience. By the way, in case you didn't join us right at the very beginning, Mrs. Wani and her husband will be celebrating 30 years of marriage in 2 days.
To the glory of God.
To the glory of God. And in a way, like I mentioned earlier on, thanks for clapping. Like I mentioned earlier on that we're supposed to be the one giving her an anniversary present, but she's giving us so many people. And I do believe that beyond the hundreds of people who have joined this call, I believe that you've impacted families and generations, because you've impacted marriages, you've impacted friends, family units, and children, even unborn. So thank you very much indeed, ma'am. And we pray that God will cause the oil and the wine and the beauty in your home and your marriage to be renewed and even more beautiful in Jesus' mighty name. Please don't forget to follow A Beautiful Life by Kenny on Instagram, and also visit their website. They have important information, their updates on events coming up right there. Now, talking about updates of activities to come, I'll invite Aya, who is project coordinator and who's been such a fantastic resource and coordinator for this event, to give us an update on what to expect in the coming weeks, months with regards to ABL.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I've been so blessed today. Thank you, Mrs. Wani. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Pastor Kingsley. Thank you, Mr. Fela and Mrs. Durotoye. Well, thank you everybody who has stayed up till now. I'm sure you were blessed because I was blessed. I learned a lot today. Welcome to A Beautiful Life by Kenny. I'm sure you were really blessed. So next up, we're having a program next that has to do with children, basically parents. It's going to be centered on parents, helping the children grow in faith, basically helping them to the right path spiritually, not going out of the faith. And also, you know, these times are a lot of things have changed. So we're also going to be talking about managing the children's education in this season. I know it's not easy. We have to learn new things as parents. So basically helping the children adapt to these times. And after that, we have a program coming up as well on careers. I'm sure you enjoyed our speakers. ABL, we have amazing speakers every time we have something coming up. Keep coming. So we have something on careers. Like I said earlier, a lot of things have changed. A lot of businesses have looked for new ways to thrive, to success, so many things. So we're going to be having speakers who would help business women, even homemakers, you know, career women to help them basically succeed in these changing times. And also every December, we have what we call our A Beautiful Life by Kenny's nation building activities. Last year, we went to the All Girls Correctional Center at Idi Araba. We went there, we took gifts to them, we sang with them. It was a Christmas season. So it was fun, they were happy, and basically we impacted them in our own way. So if you'd like to be part of us, send a message to A Beautiful Life by Kenny at gmail.com. You will be blessed you did. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you so much for running with this vision and being such a great support to Mrs. Wani in making this come alive and making it such a beautiful event. Really grateful to you and everyone who's worked on this. God bless you. All right, we've come to, very close to the end of today's meeting. I'm sure you'd agree with me that it's been such a priceless time learning and gleaning wisdom from all our speakers, from Mrs. Wani at the very beginning to Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo, and of course, Mr. and Mrs. Fela and Tara Durotoye. And so we come to the part where we give our vote of thanks and also closing prayer. And this is from one of the mentors at ABL in the person of Mrs. Yinka Obafisoye.
Thank you very much, moderator. First, we must acknowledge God and give him thanks. He's made it possible. You know, who would have thought, in spite of the pandemic, we're gathered, you know, we're stronger, we're bigger. And this session has been so glorious. So we give it all to him. We acknowledge you, God, and we say thank you to you. I also must thank the visionaire, you know, Pastor Mrs. Kenny Wani. Thank you very much for heeding the call of God. You know, this program has mended so many broken homes, so many broken lives, especially for those of us who were, we've been a part of this from the beginning. We know what this program has done to and for us and our families. Thank you very much, Mrs. Wani. I must thank, you know, all the facilitators, Pastor Kingsley, Mr. and Mrs. Durotoye, every member of the audience. Thank you very much. The moderator, Aya, thank you. Thank you so much. And we know that even as you keep attending our programs, we know that whatever it is that you believe God for, the Lord will grant you. Amen. So let's shut our eyes and pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, Amen. We thank you, Lord. We appreciate you. We know that indeed you have been in our midst. Thank you for the amazing success you've made this beautiful program. We thank you for every wisdom and insight that has been shared. We thank you, Lord, because even as we have received, at the end of the day, Father, we will be profited in the name of Jesus, and you be glorified. Thank you, Lord. We know you've done this for us because we've asked in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you very much indeed, Mrs. Obafisoye, Mrs. Yinka Obafisoye. Really grateful for that closing prayer and, of course, the vote of thanks. And so, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we come to an end for today's meeting. And I'll just hand over now to Mrs. Wani to give us a closing statement, closing remark, and just have a beautiful evening. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, everybody. I just bless God for today. I feel very, very fulfilled. There's nothing like being able to be part of something that would enrich the kingdom of God. My parting shot would be just 3 C's quickly. For those of us who are, Christians, always remember your faith. Remember the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, and self-control. It will help you in life, in your marriage, in your career, in every area. It will help. Those things would help you. In marriage, I would say, remember, communication is the lifeblood of marriage. Find a way that works for your own family. Make sure you're communicating. And the last C I would say would be commitment. I like what Fela said. Build a wall around your home, which means that wall means there's no way, you're not going out. You just have to find a way with God to make it work. God will bless each and every one of us in Jesus' mighty name. Thank you all for coming. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, ma'am. God bless you richly. Bye.